Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Great to be with you. Happy Redemption Thursday. Hope this finds you and yours doing very well. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you're going to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything, but if you do, go back, get caught up at your leisure. All 3 hours posted to Apple Podcast upon the conclusion. There it is. Email us if you like, jcs at 979espnradio.com. And hello, friends on YouTube. Florida State basketball got underway last night. That's a good opener. That'll wet your whistle. That'll make you happy, right? Plenty to see there. Whether it's Scotty Barnes, and we were all elated to watch the much ballyhooed Scotty Barnes take the floor, but also Calhoun played under 20 minutes, but he played a good segment of this game, good swath of this game, 15 minutes or so. Everybody played, basically, which you knew would happen, and Florida State cruises 86-58 against North Florida. I, for one, really just not only enjoy seeing them back on the court again, it's something to get excited about, but I wanted to see the 2 guys I wanted to see more than anybody else, Scotty Barnes and Calhoun. Because A, we haven't seen them, and B, they have been talked about in glowing terms. And one is sure to be a one and done, is a guy that most people feel like could win Freshman of the Year in the ACC. And then the other is a guy that, comes over out of a JUCO, but is said to have a really good shooting touch, and then also is a really good athlete, can create his own shot and make plays in the paint. So I want to see those 2 guys because I already know what I'm going to get in MJ Walker, and I had enough faith in him that he would take yet another step forward as he has each of the last couple of years. I just figured that maturity. He's gotten his man weight. He's a strong kid. He, I think, was ready to take on the responsibility.
That's a development because Tough Love Cameron's favorite player over the last 5 years across any
been
sport.
Here for a long time.
MJ Walker has a big chunk of the pie. It started with Billy Strode, the baseball program back in the day.
Right. Good old Billy Strode. That's right.
And MJ Walker has been the poster boy for the last 2 seasons at the very least.
Well, yeah, and I think I've served him well. I think that, first of all, if you become the subject of my tough love, if you are somebody that I direct my tough love antics through, it's because I believe there's more in there. There's something that we're not seeing. Like, I don't waste time throwing out tough love moniker to a kid that can't play. He's just a kid that can't play. I got no time for that. I'm not even going to bother. The only time you'll hear me mention him, any player that is, that doesn't fall under the umbrella of having talent and aiding the progress of the program, the only time you'll hear me mention him is, why is that dude on the floor? Why is that guy still garnering playing time? Whatever the sport, right? Tough love's reserved for those that I see real promise in, that something better is there. Either they're not reaching their potential because they lack the mental fortitude to do so, perhaps they're soft physically, and they need to toughen up, or they're lacking confidence. And you might think, well, boy, berating them on the air on a daily basis, Jeff, is no way to lend confidence to an individual. But I don't think that's true. I think there is a way.
Do you understand the meaning of tough love?
That's right. So I was that way even in my brief coaching stint. I was tough love Cameron as a coach, too. But I didn't waste my time on kids that couldn't play. I just treated them well all the time, said, good try, John. You're doing your best. Next. Now, the kid that didn't do well but had real potential to be great, they might get an earful, Tom. They might hear from me more than once. They may get tired of hearing from me. That's what that's about. So MJ was a guy that you always saw had real potential, was well thought of, obviously, as a recruit coming in here. He was much talked about, and there were things that were simply lacking. And that was very frustrating. He could be the guy that all at once turns your head in a good way and disgusted you on the very next possession. So I have believed in the talent. I just needed him to get tougher through tough love. And he has, and I think he will this year. I didn't see any moments last night of the prolonged writhing in pain over a simple bump or a bruise.
He did have some little swabs up his nose, though. So maybe that's, hey, listen.
Toughen it out.
That's right.
That's right. Oh, somebody bumped my nose. Guess what? I'm not going to pretend like I'm out for the season. I'm not going to let him stretcher me off the court here. I'm just going to go get some cotton swabs.
Maybe
That's what you do.
You start the game with already something inflicted against you, and that's how we can cut through the unnecessary under 12 timeout.
Yeah. All right, so I just assumed he would take another step and be a responsible scorer, and I think he will be that. I just what I wanted to see more than anything else was some of the newer guys and what they were going to add and how far they had to go. You know, what was it going to take for them to get to a place we need by season's end? It's hard to know that in one game against an outmatched opponent. I don't want to overstate things, but anybody who has watched college basketball, our team, really any higher level of college basketball over the last 5-6 years knows that when you look out there and you see the body type of Scotty Barnes and the athleticism and the length and all of that, the command of the game that he has.
Within one possession, up and down the floor, you say, "Ooh, man.
Yeah, that dude's an NBA player."
Yes, and he would be a nightmare to try and score against in one-on-one situations.
It's funny you bring that up, man. I thought the same thing when he when I felt bad for the opposing guard. I thought, oh, no, you got to be like, really? You exist?
And the kid
exist?
in the world, the kid's 6'2", 6'3", in good
he's a
shape.
big kid in the world, yeah.
But on that court against our team,
a wee lad.
Oh, I mean, minuscule.
And it's not just that he's 6'9". It's that, I mean, the arms go on for days.
And he reminds you, he gets low.
Hands up.
Hands up.
Hands up. Well, that's a principle they have on defense.
His
anyhow.
feet are wide.
Yeah.
He's like, look how big I am.
Yeah, he's the insect being hawked down by another insect and or critter that's going to eat him, and he goes, whoa, to intimidate and expands. Yeah, like a praying mantis. It's praying mantis. That's it. That's him.
The praying mantis.
He's the praying mantis.
Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah,
tickets available now.
There you go. I don't know if I can get him to do it, but Woody, next time you're announcing, let's go with the praying mantis as you introduce him.
Next year, you can just go, or 2 years from now, you can just call Scotty up directly because they can profit over their name and likeness.
That's true. Calhoun's the kid that I was really excited to see, too. I had already heard that it was a slam dunk that Barnes was going to meet expectations. He's not going to be a great shooter this year. We already knew that. We talked about that. But I want to see Calhoun because I will say this. I think it was Ira had told me, or somebody told me, and I know I think he used it in his story, too, but that Calhoun reminded some people around the Florida State program of Tim Pickett. And you know what a big fan of Tim Pickett I was. Mm-hmm. So
Leonard said it all off season.
Yeah. So that to me, that's exciting because I love that kid. I loved watching him play the game. He played with great fervor, a lot of emotion, athleticism, and confidence. That guy made shot after shot in uncanny circumstances and situations, hands in his face, didn't care, all that good stuff. I mean, he's a fun guy. So I'm excited to watch the team grow. I was excited to see Raquan Gray come on the floor and show that he's in shape.
So they've listed him at 260 the last 2 seasons. I think what they're telling us he's now approaching 260, if not at 260.
Wasn't it him? We got to get Coach on maybe tomorrow or Monday because we don't play again until Wednesday. But wasn't it Ham who told me that one time I was talking about Raquan Gray and it was already noted that he needed to lose weight, and Ham was ruthless. I said something like, I see where Raquan's big kid, 270, 280. He's over 300 pounds, Jeff. He needs to lose another 30, 40 pounds. It was something crazy like that. I was like, oh, good Lord.
So that would be a preseason interview either last year or the year prior.
It would have been the year prior, yeah. Because we were going through the roster.
But you asked him about Raquan before the season started last year, and he said something, too, about that, about weight.
Yeah, he's been on it.
Maybe I could montage it up. I could find a couple examples.
He's been on him about his weight. Knowles win, and yes, I see you guys out there. Wink, wink, nod, nod. That's a hell of a cover from Florida State last night. My goodness gracious. You didn't deserve that win, but you'll take that win for all the bad beats that we've suffered over the years.
Man, so they had gotten it down to, like 12 with under 10 minutes to go? I mean, we're in no danger of losing the game, but certainly if you had Knowles minus 25, you probably turned the tube off in your own mind.
Yeah,
but you stuck around.
You'd already chalked it up, right?
You got some great news after the under 4 TV timeout.
Yeah, it's funny. You end up with a 28-point victory, and at one point you had to think, man, I don't know if they could cover 10 right now. This is really frustrating. And then you get those are the best kind of covers. Those, like, really, that's going to happen? That's a big 3.
That's an onslaught at the end is what it is.
An avalanche, by the way, as they go nuts. Well, the ingredients, they're there. It's not the win last night. That was expected. It's not the domination late. That was pretty much accepted, given that North Florida hadn't won a game yet, and we're who we are, which is a perennial power these days. But it was the ingredients and how they're going to be used in the experimentation process and the figuring it out. That was so fun. And I know it's going to be an ongoing process. It may lead to a lot of convoluted, frustrating stretches. I suspect that we may see some next week, Tom. You and I were talking about that off the air as well. This is not anywhere close to a finished product when you're working in with the new players. I suspect they're going to lose to some teams they have no business losing to. I suspect there's going to be a couple of games where maybe they even play poorly and get beat pretty bad. But I'm not going to really let that sour or cloud my vision of what I think they'll be by the time we get to game 15, game 18.
Yeah, they'll be able to play it however you want it with whatever lineup. They could stagger and play really big. They could play really small and athletic, and still, with that small lineup, quote-unquote, be really tall and long on the perimeter defensively.
You see it defensively if you just pause the game. Like, if you go back and watch the game again, and I had to watch it after it ended because I was doing golf last night, but I finished the golf show, got home, and I fired it up on my YouTube thing, and I thought, I'm frustrated just like you with the way those things go. But one of the things, like, when the screen freezes, just take a look sometimes at the length on the floor, that the passing lanes that just aren't available for other teams. You just think to yourself how maddening it would be. Everything is altered. Everything is difficult.
And a commitment to it. That's the number one thing I took away. They're going to go cold from the field at times.
Yep.
I think the scout should be to dare Scotty to shoot.
Sure.
They're going to sag off of him. But the problem is if he gets ahead of steam and drive, he can create. But that would be my plan early in the season. If I was Indiana or Florida, I'd say, all right, we're going to hack Scotty inside of 4 minutes. If it's a close game, we're going to force him to shoot. They're going to, be discombobulated on offense. But God, we're going to have to work on defense. If I'm Indiana or Florida, I'm looking at that going, we're going to have to really work for our baskets.
Coach said after the game that he thinks the veterans have really improved. And his other part of that quote was, that's going to be why I think we can be a pretty good basketball team. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hard work is a thing around here. It happens with this basketball program. They're committed to it. They love each other. They play for each other. There's a leadership at the top that can be trusted. There's a culture. There are all the things that we're hoping to create with the football program that hasn't existed. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. short jobber. I went long. All right, picks, fire away. Okay, Jeff, I will. Ohio State minus 23.5 against Michigan State. Redemption Thursday time, kiddies. Let's saddle up to the table. Rutgers plus 11 against Penn State. The Fighting Schianos have kept things relatively close with a lot of people this year.
I can feel it all the way down in my plums.
You can do that with the Ohio State game, too. I think they could try to put it on Michigan State.
I can feel it all the way down in my plums.
Not playing enough games. Got to look impressive in the ones that you do play. Oklahoma State minus 1.5 against TCU. Just like the matchup, I took Oklahoma minus 22 against Baylor. Baylor's offense is inept.
I can feel it all the way down in my plums.
Miami minus 15 against Duke. Duke doesn't feel like playing football. They announced as much, so I'm going to go ahead and take the Canes.
I can feel it all the way down in my plums.
I'll take Boston College plus 4 against Virginia. Kind of a flyer there. It's a little bit of an iffy pick. I don't feel that in my plums at all, but I will tell you that I like that Boston College team. They got a little something to them, a little what for to them. So I'll hang out with them.
You know what? I was going to hit something of Jimbo going, nah, but you know what? That's usually, nothing outstanding, which is usually used for the bowl swag. And this is another thing this year that is being ripped from us.
Oh, that's a big thing, man. That's a problem. I love that.
There are going to be some bowls. We could do an abridged bowl swag segment.
Are they even doing the give out swag? Because a lot of times you got to go be part of a room. You go into the room and they have all this
gift suite.
Yeah, also known as a gift suite, Tom. Yeah, not just a room, as I said.
Well, it's also a catalog.
Yeah,
like sharper image.
Think.
Heartbreak, Mitch.
Yeah,
but I'm heartbroken by that idea.
I'm pissed. That just kind of stunned me a little bit there. Yeah. I'll take Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher knocking off Auburn. They don't have a quarterback at Auburn, but this is the kind of game Jimbo could lose. Just when they get things rolling, feeling pretty good. They've actually lost to that kid at Auburn.
See, Jimbo's special.
He's only given 6.5. I feel like that team should beat Auburn pretty good. I took Florida to run it up on Tennessee. Tennessee is a mess, and Florida's trying to get stats for Trask, so I could see that.
I can feel it all the way down in my plums.
Yeah, that's a nightmare. Washington minus 11.5 against Stanford. I did it. And the last one may surprise you guys. I took, and I kind of surprised myself. This is a gut. Kansas plus 27.5 against TCU. We'll revisit. I know.
Well, I know that.
The head cold.
Bring the head cold.
Yeah, I know. I've bet against Kansas all year long. They've largely served me well. It's been a safe bet, no matter the number. But those numbers began to get a little outrageous. Texas Tech's nothing right home about. Come on, Kansas. So show a little fight.
You know, there was a time when we'd be playing football this time of year, and it would be for meaningful things. I was reminded, as these social media apps will do, that 10 years ago today, we did a show from the studios in Charlotte ahead of Florida State and Virginia Tech.
Right. That was 10 years ago.
10 years ago. What a journey this program's been on since then.
Quick, name a really good player that played at Kansas.
There's a running back I can't think of.
Aqib Talib, dude.
Oh, well, the cabbie puncher. I
did that to you because somebody did that to me the other night. They said, name a player from Kansas quick, and I said Aqib Talib. I got it right.
There's a really good running back from
Kansas?
Yeah.
Well, actually, they've had some players, in the history of the game, but I just really quick, I thought I did. I was proud of myself. I went, Aqib Talib.
Good for you.
Yeah. Well, it made no sense that he played at Kansas. What are you doing at Kansas?
He was probably an issue.
Kansas
decided.
Yeah. Did you find that running back?
I didn't yet.
We're going to look during
Puka Williams.
That's it?
Puka Williams is good.
Okay. I like my answer better.
Come on. Hey there, sugar dumplings. Come
That's an undue burden right there. Imagine being the son of Bob Dylan and having to put together meaningful work. He did it. That's a
Probably
toughie.
pour concrete or something.
That's
just
a toughie, you know. The Boston Bruins are considering Fenway Park, Tom Lang, as an option for home games this upcoming NHL season. Quote, we are in consistent contact with the NHL as well as officials from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the city of Boston, exploring all possible venue options for the upcoming season, including Fenway Park. At this point, we're in an exploratory phase. On Thursday, Sportsnet reported under the caveat of long shot, at least 4 NHL teams have explored potentially playing home games outdoors if it could allow them to host fans as the league confronts how to stage a season amid the coronavirus pandemic. The teams mentioned are the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Los Angeles Kings, the Anaheim Ducks, and the Boston Bruins.
Man, where the hell are the Kings going to play? That's ridiculous. Now, they've hosted a Winter Classic out in L.A. before, but you can do that maybe once or twice, not I'm sure they're looking at probably 10 to 15 events like that.
Something like that, yeah. Man, I got to tell you, though, seeing the Bruins play at Fenway, count me in.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're not a Bruins
If you want to
guy.
see a second-rate organization.
Well, what if they were taking on the Lightning? You could see a first-rate Stanley Cup reigning champion franchise roll on in to take on your second-rate Bruins.
Boston fans could see a better product.
Yeah.
Better run
Well,
organization.
they got to see it up close and personal during the playoffs. I mean,
see it again.
See it again.
Just until
They're
maybe
probably tired of seeing it.
they realize that Cassidy is not going to be the guy to take him there because he's weak. He's a weak coach, and that's a weak organization that needs to. They got to tell Char to go to hell. Hey, you can't play here till you're 50. Go on, man. Go play in Arizona.
Yeah. You guys are one line. You're one line. That's all you got.
It's a fun line.
It's a great line.
But it's only one line.
It's just one. Gonna need more than one.
It's like a Mitch Hedberg comedy routine.
There you go. Which does make you laugh, but about
it's-
8 minutes in, you're kind of like, all right.
You know what I think about? Okay. But it's, man.
Well, it was genius.
Yes, very much so.
That's like, what's his name, Wright? Is it Stephen Wright? Yeah. The flowing, goofy hair. He's the same guy. I mean, I always thought choosing to, like Anthony Jeselnik, choosing to be that kind of comic, A, you got to be really smart. B, patient, because that's a lot of writing to fill 30 minutes. Because they're all one-liners.
Yeah.
Or very short stories.
Also, patience when you deliver, too.
Oh,
You
well,
can't rush
timing,
through the joke or else you're
timing's
screwed.
everything. Got to sit there and let people be uncomfortable. You've got to be uncomfortable. And you got to say it with a straight face, no matter how heinous the punchline is.
And it's almost method acting at that point.
Yeah, so it's exhausting. I got to imagine he comes off stage and he's absolutely exhausted because I have to let that marinate. I got to sit there with that. Let you sit there with that. And I'm looking at you while you're looking at me, and this is all very awkward, and I can't break the code.
You know who's excellent at that? It's not his total shtick, but is excellent at basically, although this is different because he'll bomb on purpose, is McDonald. Will
Oh,
McDonald.
yeah, he does it on purpose, yeah. He takes it to another level of uncomfortable.
But you have to be able to go numb at that point, I would think. Like absorbing the
Well,
audience, whatever the feedback is, you have to be able to absorb that and just be numb or unaffected by it completely.
I've watched him perform the moth joke, I mean, countless times. And it gets more and more uncomfortable the longer it goes on. You see Conan's face, Dave's face when he's doing it. You're like, you're like, this is genius. I'm getting really uncomfortable. My hands are going to get
He did that with his sports show, which was good.
Oh, yeah.
The one on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
Terrible jokes. Just you're
You're
like,
like,
man.
oh, come on. Yep, just sit there and let you. I read his book. The book is like, he fooled me for the first chapter and a half. I didn't realize I was having the wool pulled over my eyes for a chapter and a half, like 50-something pages before I went, oh, none of this is real. Oh, son of a. He freaking got me. That was the joke.
Well, I can tell you he won't get me now.
No, I know. I'm telling you, I laughed. I put the book down and went, you son of a, you got me. I've spent the last however long I've been reading for an hour, and I was like, oh, my God. black tar heroin? What? And I'm reading, I'm like, oh, it's a miracle he's not dead. And then I kept reading. I went, oh my God, the regrets. Why would you do that? I never knew that about you. And then finally I went, wait a minute. And then I realized I was in on the joke. Now that's genius.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Wrote a book and had to count on the reader figuring it out that they were being.
Oh, there's total trust. When you're bombing on, there's total trust in the audience, and you know that percentages ain't going to work. But when it does, it's going to be better than anything I could do.
I don't think I have it. I don't think I have the patience. I lack patience to do that. I would, at some point, I'd want to be like, you get it, guys? Come on. Like, I could try it amongst friends briefly.
Well, there are times that the 10 a.m. show on this network, they just bomb because they're terrible. But then there are times they're intentionally doing it, and you're like, man, that would be tough. Like, if we sat here on a Monday.
Doing it intentionally, yeah.
And we talked about Florida State baseball. Like, you know, if we lost to Duke, and it's just we talk about baseball for 3 hours and we're straight-faced. Like, that would take real restraint to be able to just stay there and lock in.
We could do it. We've done something similar before, almost out of protest, but yeah, they do it all the time on that show. But that's also because they're angry.
And they have, yes, they are. But they have 5 or 6 dudes to pass the ball to.
Yeah.
Because if you just had
you don't have to take all the shots. You can sit back in the cut a little bit and let somebody else
Billy
shine
can talk about taking the trash out for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and then somebody else can weigh in, and then he can make fun of it at the end of the segment.
You know, the thing I hate about hefty bags, Dan.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Jenna Lane produced a stat. Next hour, we'll talk to Lita Kemper, JoeBucksFan.com, the website. He'll join us to talk about what's ailing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whom I'm going to see in person on the 13th. Looking forward to that against the Vikings. So we get into December. In 10 days, me and my youngest boy are going to be down there checking out the Bucs. They've done a really good job during a tough time to do a good job, get people distance, but also be able to enjoy yourself at the game. They've got that thing operating very smoothly. At least it was when I went. And I went to the Chargers game. That was weeks and weeks ago. So it's probably even better now, which is great to see. But anyhow, that stat Jenna Lane produced is pretty eye-opening. The Bucs ranked 30th in the league in play-action frequency. 18% of dropbacks, despite Brady being second in the league with 9.1 yards per dropback using play action.
I hope she cited Hembo from Get Up, because I saw that stat on Monday from Hembo, and that's true. You would think that no matter who is calling the plays, and there's a lot of finger pointing as to who is actually calling the plays, that Brady would either want to, or the coaching staff would want to, put Brady into a position where, he's been one of the best to ever play and use play action to his advantage.
I would think so. I yell at my TV something similar to what you just laid before us in terms of why you would want to, why it's necessary, how is it not happening. I just don't say it as succinctly. I use some fillers in between thoughts that would be considered rude on the airwaves. It's so frustrating because it's so obvious. And sometimes I think players and coaches, analysts, fans, we outthink the room. We do too much of trying to make something complicated that isn't. The guy, his whole career, has been exceptional off of play action. Here's an idea. Let's get into some situations in which play action will be effective. I mean, well, if only there's a way to do that.
Well, and you can
formationally.
Yeah, and you could do it out of the gun, but you just got to run more effectively out of the gun, which they don't do. So that's
they don't
why
run
you need
effectively out of the gun at all.
You need double tights, and he needs to be under center.
Just big personnel, run the ball, throw off a play action, make the defense declare. Let's go.
Whoever's calling the plays sucks. I think that's the way to just put it, right? I don't care who it is, but there's the simple answer. You suck at it, so you need to get better, and the way you get better is by running the ball more, especially against a Kansas City team that gives up again. Like, even at 17-0, you can see that they kind of give it. Stop. You've got plenty of time. And you know what your best friend is down 17-0? Is a 6-minute drive.
Yeah, let that defense have a little bit of a rest here. By the way, so we called for this. I feel like we've had a really good year when it comes to first guessing things. We first guessed the AB thing being a disaster. We first guessed this sort of frustrating dynamic between Arians and the playbook.
Kando is a pass rusher in college.
Yeah, Kando is a pass rusher. All these things we first guessed. Now, we got some things wrong, obviously. We always do. That's what happens when you give an opinion for a living. But we said, in a year where unpredictability reigns supreme because of COVID, unfortunately, and the need to still also try to get these games in for the financial security of these institutions, why don't the various leagues just allow teams to, if they miss a game, schedule another one with somebody outside the league that also missed a game if they have an open date? Anybody. I don't really care. I don't care. I mean, if we're going to go forth and try to play these games, well, okay, we're taking some risks. We are. We've already decided that, right? We've decided to weigh the odds here, and we're gonna take some chances. Now, can you safely do it? Can you put protocol in place? All that's necessary. Give kids the opportunity to opt out. Coaches can opt out, whatever it might be. Now, once we've agreed upon what we're doing and everybody says, okay, all right, well then those people have chosen to take that risk. Let's go play football smartly. There's no reason then at that point you can't say, oh, BYU, your game got canceled. Well, I'll tell you what, you're playing – you call somebody. Marshall got their game canceled too. You want to play them tomorrow? Can you get there? It's on. Let's get it on. They did it. It took half the year. It started to happen a few weeks ago. It happened in the Pac-12 because they had so few games anyhow, remember? Mm-hmm. Yep. And then right off the bat, they're like, oh, well, I'll just play UCLA then. And the two teams agreed to it and said, okay, we'll play. And they played like on a Monday or a Sunday or whatever that was. This is smart. BYU is going to replace Liberty. And I was very excited about this matchup, but now I'm even more excited. BYU is going to replace Liberty as Coastal Carolina's opponent on Saturday after COVID-19 prevented Liberty from being able to play the game. That was going to be a great matchup. Coastal's been one of the good stories this year. The game's going to kick off at 5:30. It's going to air on ESPNU. Several Liberty players, staff members, including their quarterback, Malik Willis, tested positive. They were quarantined this week. They're 9-1. They still had hoped to play in the game, but the school's medical officials said, nah, probably not safe at this point. We don't have enough players. We've got too many guys that have tested positive. We're going to have to decline playing this football game. All right, so that's smart. BYU is 9-0, Tom. Coastal Carolina is 9-0. These have been two of the better stories in college football this year. They're both ranked in the top 20. BYU hasn't played a game since November 21st. They've been looking for another opponent all along. The Cougars weren't scheduled to play again until December the 12th against San Diego State. Quote, we're grateful that this game between our two teams could be put together in such a rapid fashion. That according to BYU Athletic Director Tom Holmoe. It's good to know, it's good to have a partner like ESPN that can help put together such a meaningful game at this point of the season. Kudos to ESPN. It's good for ESPN to have done that, given that their star analysts absolutely screwed up and gave self-serving commentary the other night after the college football playoff rankings were.
If there's one person I don't want to parrot about the world and things in the world, it's probably Dabo.
Correct.
You would think Kirk knew that and would know that. He's got to know better.
You know, I went back because we talked about this on the air yesterday, Tom, and I thought to myself after I said what I said about I appreciated the apology, and I at least he owned up that he had no evidence that Michigan was going to wave the white flag. He had no evidence that the coaches were trying to opt out of the season and just forget it and shut it down, that he shouldn't have said it. He admitted that, all of that. I realized that not having heard the whole apology and not having watched the show and the comments that were originally made, that maybe I was doing our listeners a disservice, because if I'm going to give my real opinion on something, I need to hear every word that the person said. So I went back. I pulled it up last night, the clip where he said what he said. I listened to everything very intently. And then I listened to the apology. And here's the only thing I got wrong yesterday, and I did get something wrong. The apology was not nearly as good as I gave him credit for. The apology was good about saying, A, I made that up. I have no evidence. I shouldn't have said it. I was wrong. I'm sorry. That part of the apology, good. That's how an apology should be. It's, you don't equivocate. You just say it, right? Where I was wrong is he then later said, I misspoke. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't misspeak. You intentionally said what you said. You parroted a dumbass. You said that you spoke to lots of coaches. I don't think that's true. I don't believe you. I think you spoke to one. But that's my opinion. That we can debate. What we can't debate is that you misspoke. You didn't misspeak. That's not like you meant to say a word and another word that sounds very familiar to that word or is similar to that word came out of your mouth and thus changed the whole meaning of the sentence. That's not what happened. You said something that you believed. You didn't misspeak.
Yeah, you said it with passion.
So that part of the apology, you can walk that back, man. No, you didn't misspeak. Just say, you're sorry, I was wrong. I have not heard that Michigan was going to wave the white flag and avoid the game against Ohio State and opt out because of COVID. I have not heard or thought or been told that there's direct evidence of teams, players, coaches, athletic departments opting out of games in order to avoid getting beat. That's not true. You've heard Dabo say that. You parroted what he had to say, but you've not had anybody in the game go on the record telling you they know that players are ducking, that coaches are ducking, that athletic directors are ducking. That's not true. You didn't misspeak. You said something that was a falsehood. And that's the only part that I'd like to kind of.
Not only it wasn't false, it was dumb.
Well, it's
like
when you consider the money.
Get something
again,
wrong,
we all get something
dumb.
wrong. I get things wrong all the
Les
time.
Miles to Michigan. You could get that wrong.
And I think he was right about that, by the way.
He's right.
That
but
turned out weird.
It's not dumb.
No, not dumb at all.
This is dumb. It's dumb. And it's beneath you. Well, you know what? No, it's not, because you've proven to me it's not beneath you.
Which is disappointing. I will say that. That's disappointing to me because I don't think he's a bad person, and I don't think he's a dumb person.
No,
and
it doesn't mean he's a bad person.
I know it doesn't, but I also don't think he's dumb. I just that was self-serving, and that's disappointing because
you're compromised.
Yeah, he's fought really hard in his role to try to avoid doing that.
Yeah, on 2 levels he's compromised. Number 1, for his kids playing for Dabo, and
then
number
he did
2,
it for
Ohio State, Michigan.
That's,
and he's been exceptional at being down the line on Ohio State
that's
for
what
a
I mean.
long time.
That's why I say it's disappointing. I like Kirk Herbstreit. I'm telling you that now. I still do. But that's really disappointing because that was self-serving. What he said was his opinion. It was self-serving, and it really was irresponsible and simply not true.
Yeah, the scope of this show, for example, is to talk very much in a self-serving way about the Noles.
Yeah.
Sometimes we step away and we take a look at it and we say, well, it's not self-serving at all to watch these games, but, here's the truth of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's no presentation that there is a completely removed, and we're looking at college football like it's in a laboratory.
Okay,
kind of
so whenever
we're in the weeds, he puts himself in a position where he says,
Well, he
I
has
am
to.
looking at it like
Yeah.
I am a scientist,
Yes.
and this is the lab that I'm observing.
And in that position, there is no way to ever give an opinion about a team, any team, in which you're not going to anger somebody. I mean, just the nature of sports and our allegiances and frustrations when people criticize what we love, and et cetera. You're going to do that.
Even when he had the video that went viral last year when he's on the couch, I'm done with Florida State. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was like the post-show get-together, and he's like, I'm
That
done
didn't
with them.
bother me, though, by the way.
It bothered some Noel fans, which is crazy. It's
It didn't bother me at all.
He's
Yeah.
speaking the truth there,
No.
man.
No, a lot of us were done with him, too, at that
Yeah.
time. I mean, I got no problem with that. But you're never going to do what he does and give an opinion and not piss somebody off. I get all of that. This is different than that. And I'll tell you this, and this is, this is like some sort of humble brag, I suppose. I don't mean it to be, but whenever I do fill-ins, it's infrequent, but every time I've ever had to do a fill-in on the ESPNU station on SiriusXM, I either do one of two things if Florida State comes up. I either just give a very generic opinion of like, well, this week, they're favored by 9 against so-and-so, and, they haven't been able to do this very, very well. It'll be interesting because this other team they're playing does this well. Just something about the matchup that is very generic. It's not opinionated. It's just factual, right? Or I'll say, well, in fairness, I cover Florida State every day, went to Florida State,
Right.
And
here's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So you understand.
One of those two things. Yeah,
they suck.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's where it's been funny because when I've had occasion to speak on them on other shows or nationally, because we're not afraid to say we suck, and lots of people aren't. I'm not saying we get a ribbon for that, but we're really not afraid to say when we suck, and that is something I'm proud of. We do not avoid the subject, right? When they're bad or even they're even hinting at being bad, we say it. And have been for 20 years, we've been able to say that, or to tell you when they're really good, too. Either way. I think that is what makes people chuckle because we'll go on and say, and I'll go on and say, oh, they're terrible, guys. They got no chance to win this Saturday. This team is awful.
Coming up next on Tallahassee Game Day.
Yeah, this year that's true. Oh, boy.
The last 4 years, that's largely true. More times than not.
It's hard when you start talking about Florida State to say out loud now that this season finishes with a losing record, just like last season finished with a losing record, just like the year before finished with a losing record. When you do that, when you just kind of say it out loud, I mean, the worst of it all during your time in school, the lost decade, where I pounded my fists on the desk daily to rip the direction of the program and what needed to happen, we still were not, and I wasn't wrong, and I'm not mad that I did that, or I don't regret it anyhow. I regret some of the verbiage. But what I would say is that those moments, I could not have foreseen this. 2-6, 2 and whatever, God forsaken, not competitive, get blown out every time you play anybody who's even average. That I couldn't have seen.
This is different. Hey, remember when Marvin Wilson was the mantra? Now it's Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes.
Loved seeing him last night. Loved watching this team get underway. Excited about the basketball season. It's a program with exceptional culture, leadership, and obviously the results speak for themselves over the last several years. And having embarked on a new season at a time where we desperately needed it felt very, very good. All right, here we go. The reigning ACC champions are off and running, and they've got the pieces to make another run to be somewhere near the top of the ACC. I don't think they're the same team, obviously, that you could say with some degree of confidence making a run at the conference title for certain, as we did last year. But I think they're good enough to finish top 5 in the ACC, be ranked at the end of the year, and be a real problem out for somebody in the much-needed NCAA tournament.
Much needed. For everyone.
For everyone. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with. Number 2, Jeff Cameron Show 97 on ESPN Radio, and a fine Redemption Thursday to you and yours. Take a little gander over here at the leaderboard. Sorry, guys. I'm distracted by the Mayakoba. The what? He's distracted by the Mayakoba. Joaquin Neiman throwing out a cool 66 today to lead the way, along with Emiliano Grillo and Victor Hovland. The field is rich this weekend at Mayakoba. That's a good field, good players. They abound. And a Hunter Mahan sighting, which means that by tomorrow he'll be at +10. I don't know whatever happened to Hunter Mahan, but the ability to sustain and put together back-to-back good rounds of golf is not part.
Probably was the flat-billed hats.
Yeah. Remember, he was a Ryder Cupper.
He was.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah, he had some grit to him.
Tough times. You can email the show if you like, jcs at 979 on ESPNradio.com, on Twitter at JCameron. The WTSM app, I checked, it works.
This time next year, we'll have seen a Ryder Cup in the US of A. And we'll have stories.
Listen, this time, hello, YouTubers, this time next year, we're going to be talking about attending college basketball games packed to the rafters. This time next year, we'll talk about the season that has been going on in football and all of the games we attended with our fellow fans and friends.
And I think you and I have talked about this behind the scenes, but from about the summer of 2021 on through the end of the year, it's going to be the year of the watch party. We're going to be everywhere.
Forget about it. Everywhere. You want to host us at a watch party so we can bring in people to your business, you better reach out now. It's time. We're going to be the most popular watching party people of all time because everybody wants to get together. Yeah. I want to get together. Let's see our friends. Let's talk. Let's be amongst one another. Let's share the joy of sport together.
I feel like, roughly, if the timing that everybody says, the experts say, is going to hold, the NFL draft is about that kickoff into the new existence the old existence once again.
Time, man.
Yes, sir.
Boldly walking into an establishment. No fear, sitting down amongst our friends.
Sneezing on people.
Like-minded folks. Wiping it on our hands and then on their person. Yes.
Sneeze on me.
Go ahead. It doesn't bother me. There are droplets everywhere. Look at us.
And wings.
Yes.
Delicious wings.
And beer. Share my glass, friend. Anyhow. So they played basketball last night. And they stomped North Florida, as we figured they would. And I moreover, got very, very excited by a lot of aspects of this basketball team and where they're headed. Not what they did, 86-58. That was to be expected. But once again, you're reminded of how talented, how deep, how athletic, and how fun they are to watch play basketball. And you know, when you see this team, you think to yourself, what are they going to be in a few weeks? What are they going to be in a month from now? What are they going to be towards the end of the season? Because the kind of leaps forward that you're going to witness from a Calhoun, from a Scotty Barnes, who's as advertised. But, you know, again, what you'll see from Malik Osborne, what you'll see from Raekwon Gray, who's in great shape and showed it off last night. MJ Walker looks prepared to handle the scoring load there, the dynamic that's going to be something that game in and game out we expect from him. You know, he can shoulder that, the burden of that. I think I don't want to read too much into one game. That's a mismatched opponent, and Florida State did kind of anything they wanted. But you see the length and the athleticism.
Yeah, and Scotty's going to put all these guys in better positions to score as the season goes along.
For sure.
Because he's going to learn, and then also people are going to adapt to him, and they're going to have to key on him, which opens up other things. Yeah, it's going to get fun. I think there are going to be dicey moments probably next week against Indiana and Florida.
Yeah.
There are going to be moments where they go cold from the field because they're trying to figure out what the best rotations are for their baseline, and then you're going to have the ability to match up with, you know, different teams. There were times where Kumaje, a season or two ago, would match up against a team that just had nobody in the post, and you had a blind presence.
Throw it in.
5-6 inches worth of advantage near the rim, and Kumaje would go for 8 points in the first 8 minutes of the game, and you wouldn't see him the rest of the night. But we're going to have to figure out, you know, those types of I guess those would be like your counter rotations versus your baseline. But Leonard Hamilton said it last night. He said it to the reporters. This team is figuring each other out at the same rate I'm figuring them out. We're all behind, and we have to catch up.
Well, when you are watching, the newer guys, we already knew what we had in Evans and Gray and Osborne and all of that. But when I watch the new guys, Calhoun stands out. Obviously, Scotty Barnes stands out. And sheer height, Gomes stands out. Yeah, but when I look at that, I think, okay, those two guys, once they get acclimated and really comfortable, and they seem pretty damn comfortable right off the bat. Now, that's not ACC competition. But they don't look like they're lacking confidence. They don't look like they're lacking ability, and they don't look like they're lacking explosiveness or handle or any of those things that you think, that'll hold them back in year one. They're really going to have to come a long ways to play at an elite level. It doesn't feel like that's a long journey for those guys. I think it's a pretty quick one. The learning curve is expedited with the talent that they have.
Yeah, the indicator to me last night that Scotty will be okay, even though his jump shot is lacking, and that'll be what he's drafted to work on, right? Like he'll go top 5 or 10, and the number one thing on the scouting report is needs to work on the jump shot. But he's not about that. He's not trying to put up 20 shots in that. You can see the way he plays in the offensive half court. He's a facilitator first. He wants to move to space to create looks for somebody else. He's got vision around the basket. Even when he's driving, he's still looking to make a pass. It's akin to a quarterback, keeping his eyes down the field, even when he breaks the pocket and there's a 6-yard gain in front of him. He could run for those 6, but I'm looking for the 30.
Right.
That's what Scotty is continually looking to do. Now, the question is, when bigger bodies, more capable bodies are defending him, does that change? And does he panic? I think it's going to happen at times. He's going to have to push the limits. Calhoun's going to have to push the limits and learn where they can't go. But, I mean, I can't wait to see more of them. I wish they were playing this weekend.
2016 three-star quarterback and at once somewhat superstar player for UCF, Mackenzie Milton, has entered the transfer portal, Tom Lang. After passing for 8,682 yards, 72 touchdowns, rushing for over 1,000 yards and 20 TDs in 33 games at UCF, he has entered the transfer portal. Now, remember the gruesome injury he suffered that, it wasn't quite Alex Smith, but pretty close. Hadn't played since 2018. I'll take a flyer.
Yeah, fluffy Bisquick pancakes.
It's an offense for playmakers, Mackenzie.
Yeah, fluffy Bisquick pancakes.
With an iconic brand.
Okay, so you said of the 10 pancakes you have to offer for off-season improvements.
I think 5 of them were going to the offensive line. Is that what I said?
You said 5 to a pass rusher.
Oh, well, yeah.
5 to a bona fide pass rusher.
Well, now, that is a point that you have to clarify. It has got to be bona fide. They has to have their bona fides, Tom. I need to know that they are what we need.
Yeah, fluffy Bisquick pancakes.
So this is a player that you would say, hey, look, he had some great issues. Because of that, he couldn't go to Ohio State. Who recruited him? Or Alabama. Who recruited him? He had to go to a junior college. A little rough around the edges. May have had a couple off-the-field incidents in which he beat some dudes up. Something along those lines where you go, okay, I understand. But is he a 12 to 14 sack guy? Yes, he is that. Plug and play, 12-sack guy. Let's get the pancakes, boys. Let's get the pancakes. I'm not worried about choir boys at this point. Let's go.
Boy, they would have to be a real risk off the field, though, for us to get a 12 to 14 sack guy. I'd like an 8 to 10 sack guy.
I'll take
7
a 5
to
sack
9
guy. Sweet
guy.
Jesus, somebody who could get a sack.
Yeah, fluffy Bisquick pancakes.
But that's why I say that the pancake volume shifts based on the bona fides. Are you a 3 to 5 sack guy? You get a pancake. I could use 3 to 5 sacks.
You don't even get to hear the sounder for one
At the
pancake.
cost of a pancake. That's what you get. No syrup.
Got to get to 2 before you hear the
Now,
sounder.
are you a 6 to 8 sack guy? That's 2.5, 3 pancakes.
Yeah, fluffy Bisquick
There it is.
pancakes.
And if you're a double-digit sack guy, forget about it. We're throwing lots of pancakes your way.
Yeah, fluffy Bisquick pancakes.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, buddy.
How many pancakes for Milton?
Well, I got to see him run. I got to see, are the legs still able to move? I mean, that was a tough go there. I got to see him move around.
Can he field his position?
Yeah, get my man. Because Tom will bunt on you if you're missing an arm or a leg. To the side with which that leg or arm does not exist. That's Tom for you. It's a playoff game, Jeff. Those were the utterances at one time.
Yeah, bunting baseballs at you.
I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to lay it down to that right side where you're missing an arm.
I'd call bunt as it's coming out of his hand.
Bunt!
Don't make a difference.
You're missing an arm. I'm bunting to that side. You just yell it out. That's just so wrong. Yeah. Well, so there you have it. That's I need to see, can he move? If the answer is yes, all right, okay, good. I'll take my chances on McKenzie Milton. The point of this discussion, somebody asked, my wife asked me about this, and she never asked about the show. So she said to me, other than how's it going? That's about the extent of what she asked about the show. How'd the show go today? Fine. Okay, good. She didn't care to hear about it. She didn't get none of it, right? And that's the way we like it. Frankly, I don't want to go home and talk about my work. I don't.
I hear you there.
Yeah, so that's the way that works. So here you go. She says, hey, did you say that Jordan Travis is transferring? And I said, no. She said, you didn't say something about Jordan Travis yesterday in the transfer portal? I said, I would look for a quarterback on the transfer portal because I'm not beholden to Jordan Travis's limitations. Yes, I said that he's not so special that I have to worry about upsetting the quarterback room. That's what I said. Oh, good, because one of the coworkers said that her husband said that you said that that Jordan Travis was going to enter the transfer portal. No, tell her to tell him he came in late on the conversation. That really what I said was I wouldn't worry about Jordan Travis's feelings. I'd look for a quarterback in the transfer portal.
And if he wants to transfer again,
have a good day.
Right. Yep.
That's what I would say.
I remember the conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's fair. Jeff Cameron, 97.9 ESPN Radio. catch the first hour where I laid forth my picks, my glorious, beautiful, shiny picks. So I'll do it here for you now. Late to the show. Get it together. Show begins at 3. I'm kidding. Maybe you're listening to the podcast version. Maybe you go back, you catch up. You're an attorney or a mailman. Perhaps you work in landscaping. Maybe you're a outstanding, sterling employee of Keith McNeil Plumbing. I don't know. But whomever you are, thanks for listening. Johnny Mack, my man. Really, the city of Tallahassee's guy. We all love Johnny Mack. He is a friend extraordinaire. He is a bartending Jesse, an all-time great one. Affable, smart, fun to be around, life of the party, kind, really kind man. I mean that. I think that is a quality that comes to mind first and foremost when somebody says, you know Johnny Mack? I go, I do know Johnny Mack. Ponytail blonde Johnny Mack? Ponytail blonde Johnny Mack. Metro Deli Johnny Mack? Metro Deli Johnny Mack. Bartender at every single restaurant that's ever been in Tallahassee, Johnny Mack? That Johnny Mack. And then I think, super nice guy. Happy birthday, buddy. 50 years old. 50. Looks good. Looks good at 50. He wears 50 well, and I'm envious of those flowing locks, good sir. Mine weren't even around for my 40th, let alone 50th birthday.
He is the one reason you would root for the evil empire Los Angeles Dodgers to get one title. They got theirs, and he's happy.
I was happy for him. I was happy for my buddy Pat Lynch. Other than that, that's it.
I asked him
I don't
once,
know. Do I know any other Dodger fans?
if the Knowles win in Omaha, which is, of course, the number one thing on his list and everybody's list at this point.
Waiting.
Other than, well, Ham wins one. That's going to be a really amazing day. I said, so how long would you celebrate? He says, I'd stop in every town on the way home. I'd drive home, and I'd stop in every town and have a celebration.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll see you in a couple weeks.
That's a lot of towns.
I've saved up for it.
That's a lot of towns.
We're just going to do it.
You could ask, although he drove from a different place, but you could ask Corey Clark how many towns that is. He drove from wherever it was, the football game, to was it Charlotte? Oh, did he go from Charlotte?
He went to Cleveland. He drove to Cleveland last year.
He did, but he also drove to Omaha, I think, at one point. I believe that's true.
I think he did. Yeah, that's right.
That's accurate. Yeah. That's a drive, buddy. Picks real quick. Ohio State. Happy birthday, Johnny Mack. We love you, buddy. Ohio State minus 23.5 against Michigan State. They're going to look to run it up and try to impress the people that need impressing. Rutgers plus 11. They've been pretty game this year. The Fighting Schianos have. Oklahoma State minus 1.5 against TCU. I just like the matchup. I took Oklahoma to drub poor Baylor. They're offensively challenged. I took Miami to lay it on Duke, who doesn't want to be there, minus 15. I took Texas A&M and the Fighting Jimbos to vanquish Auburn. Auburn still without a quarterback. Yeah, that guy. Boston College plus 4 against Virginia. BC's been game. They've bucked the trend of first-year coaches this year. That's impressive. Good on him. Different circumstances, different places. I don't read too much into it, but he's done a good job. UF minus 17.5 against Tennessee. Tennessee is on fire in a bad way. I don't know. Pruitt going to get fired, seemingly. Florida's looking to run it up. They want Trask to get stats. He could get a fake Heisman Trophy. Nobody should win it this year. Washington minus 11.5 against Stanford. I'll do it. And then finally, Kansas, everybody. What? I'm taking Kansas plus 27.5. I know that seems crazy, but I'm going to do it. They're playing Texas Tech. I don't believe in that Texas Tech team. They sneak it in under the wire. They lose by 24.
One more.
There it is. That means my man, Lee DeKemper. JoeBucksFan.com, the website. He joins us right now. The Bucks have lost 3 of 4, and people are angry. Lee, how are you, brother?
Jeff, I'm doing great. Thank you. Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving.
I had a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for asking. Or suggesting. Yeah, same to you, buddy. Did you meet up with your buddy that you found out was living there in Clearwater after all these years? You hang out again?
After all those years. Yeah, it was a few years ago when I found out. But, yeah, I lived in Florida for about 20 years. And he himself, and we didn't know we were just a few miles away from each other. And matter of fact, at one point in the same building. And we worked in the same building and didn't know it until, just a few years ago. But, yeah, I met up with him, and we had Thanksgiving, and all was great.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. All right, let's talk about the mess the Bucks find themselves in. I'm not panicked. I think you did a little thing on JoeBucksFan.com, not to trivialize it in any way, where you were talking about being in crisis mode, but you haven't been in full-on panic. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not looking at the article just yet. I think that's what she said. And and the point would be, I'm there with you. I think they've got to find this identity that's been elusive, and I think it's right there before them. Now, I don't want to beat a dead horse because Tom and I have the vast majority of this show to say what we think about what the Bucks are doing. And we've spent a lot of time for weeks now saying it was a dumbass move to bring AB in. I would have told Tom Brady no. Secondly, ever since they've done it, they've tried to be something that they're not. They spend way too much time spreading things out in the shotgun and doing dumbass things like not running the ball, all that stuff. But there's a lot of blame to go around, and I'm sure you're getting it on the website and reading everything that people have to say. Let me gauge here. The vast majority of this anger is directed at Bruce Arians.
You got it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it makes sense. Tell me why you think that might not be fair.
Well, and Arians has been saying this for some time, not just recently. He's been saying this for some time. Hey, and matter of fact, he said this with Jameis as well, come to think of it, that when they craft a game plan for a game, the week of the game, they'll, Leftwich and Arians will come up with a series of plays, and they'll present it to the quarterback. It was Jameis, now it's Brady. What do you like? What do you don't like? And what you don't like, we will take out of the game plan. We will not use it. Okay, that's fair. And in recent weeks, Arians has been saying, hey, Brady's calling the plays. Brady comes to the sideline, looks over the playbook, he looks over the defense, looks over the information and the data that they have, and then he kind of chooses a battle plan for the next series. So Arians, unless you're under the assumption, not you yourself, Jeff, but in theory, in general, if you're under the assumption that Arians is some kind of backstabber, everything he's saying, it sounds like it's Brady's offense. And this is exactly what Chris Sims, former Bucs quarterback, works for NBC Sports now. This is what he's been saying for weeks. And Chris Sims, say what you will about him, but he worked with Brady at the Patriots. One season, although it was more than most people, he was an assistant coach on the offensive side of the ball with the Patriots. Worked with Brady, worked with Belichick. He said this offense, it's all what Brady wants to do. Now, it's not a Patriots offense, but he said, everything Arians is saying, Sims says it's accurate. And on top of that, Sims, I thought, and I wrote about this earlier this week on JoeBucksFan.com, and it seemed like it went over everybody's head. I don't mean to be derogatory by saying that. But Sims said, I know Brady wanted Antonio Brown. I don't have to think it. I know it. Whoa. And, well, he's got pretty good sources, let's be honest, him and his dad. So that was, intriguing. We all know Arians didn't want Antonio Brown. We all know that. He said that, prior to the season. And I'm not a big I don't believe in coincidences in the NFL. I just don't. And when first I heard people say, well, they didn't play it well against the Giants because Antonio Brown's here, I scoffed at that. It's one game. That's Brown. Arians isn't that crazy to try to completely change an offense because it's just got one guy. Well, now we've got 4 games under our belt with Antonio Brown on the roster. And all 4 games, the Bucs struggled offensively. Again, I don't believe in coincidences. So it sure smells like the chemistry, not so much the locker room chemistry, but the on-field chemistry, the focus of the team, what they want to do offensively, certainly has changed since Antonio Brown's been here. Now, I'm not going to blame Antonio Brown. I mean, they wanted him. They came and got him. So it's not technically Antonio Brown's fault. You want to pin it on Arians? You want to pin it on Brady? My biggest problem with Arians and this whole thing is, if you believe Arians, that Brady's calling the long ball, Brady's in charge of the offense, Brady's running an offense that is not working when it should be in a two-tight end formation and pounding the ball more, well, someone's got to be the adult in the room and say, Tom, no, take your hand out of the cookie jar. You're about ready to have dinner. Don't ruin your dinner. You, Bruce Arians, should be that adult. You're the head coach.
Well, yes, I think this is perfectly explained. You're right. You won't say that it's Antonio Brown's fault because it can't be. Antonio Brown needed money. Antonio Brown ruined his life. Antonio Brown got a call from the Bucs because for whatever reason, Tom Brady is in love with Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown said, yeah, I'll take $2 million. Good Christ, I could use the money. He comes in, he's a football player, whatever. He's doing what he's supposed to do. They should have never brought Antonio Brown in. Arians should have stuck by his guns instead of acquiescing and kowtowing to Tom Brady. But he didn't. He caved, and he allowed Antonio Brown to come in. And that's why you saw that god-awful display that night against the Giants, where they were throwing to some receiver nobody's ever heard of 18 times because they were trying – that was the position that Antonio Brown was going to be playing. They were figuring out a ratio. They were figuring out an offense. And we screamed at the top of our lungs on Joe Buck's fan, this is f***ing stupid. And so that's where we were. That's where we are. I'll bleep that out. The point is, that has been the case since then, and nobody has been the adult in the room to say, well, why don't we just kind of go back to what we were doing before, where it appeared that we were developing an identity, where we had good chemistry with the receivers that we had. Hey, nobody likes Scotty Miller more than Tom Brady did coming out of camp, and he had developed a relationship with him, and he was down the field to Scotty Miller that was beginning to work out. And guess where that's gone? To the bench in favor of Antonio Brown. And now nothing down the field works all that consistently. And for whatever reason, they can talk about how obvious it is that you have to throw the ball off a play action. Tom Brady's entire career, he's been the best quarterback in the league throwing off a play action. But you can't throw off a play action when you're in the shotgun and the spread because there's nobody in the backfield for them to have to respect. So this isn't that hard, but Arians allowed for it to happen. Brady's ego has gotten in the way. This is, let's find out again, go back to what we were and play football. Now, flip it, other side of the ball. What's going on there? Is it that the offense is so bad early in games that they're on the field incessantly? Has it been that they've played an uptick in competition and that maybe that is also rooted there? Vita Vea's absence is obviously killing them in a lot of ways. But what are your thoughts on that side of the ball? Because at the beginning of this year and through much of the first half of the season, we were elated with Todd Bowles. That's beginning to wane. Your thoughts?
Todd Bowles. It's all in Todd Bowles. Now, if you want to get micromanaged here, you're like, okay, Jamel Dean got hurt. Oh, all right, I get that. Not that he was playing so great. So that might mean Sean Murphy-Bunting's on the field more. He's seemed to have taken a step back, as has Dean. So, okay, I'll grant you that. They're not getting enough pressure. That could be partially because of Vita Vea. But at the end of the day, it's Todd Bowles. He came up with two awful game plans. He adjusted maybe too – well, not maybe. He did adjust too late. When he did adjust, they played better. But when you come out of the gate, 2 games in a row, your game plan on defense, your plan of attack is absolutely atrocious. That the other team, they made Jared Goff look like Brady. And he boat raced them. And, of course, my gosh, what happened with Pat Mahomes and Cheetah Hill. And Mahomes even said, after the game, that they never saw anybody defend them the way Bowles did initially. Well, yeah, because it stunk. It stunk, that's why. My issue with Bowles, and specifically going back to the Rams game, Arians said, well, we made adjustments at halftime defensively. Halftime? What you wait to halftime for? I'll never forget Greg Shannon jokingly, someone asked him about making defensive adjustments. And he jokingly, specifically halftime adjustments. And Shannon jokingly said, halftime is for eating bananas and going to the bathroom. You adjust all the time. He got killed by fans. How dare he mock halftime adjustments? I got his point right away. His point was, if you don't adjust right away, you're doomed. That's what happened with Bowles. I don't know why they waited till halftime, but they did. And by that time, it was too late. By that time, the Rams already had a lead. And, oh, by the way, currently, Sean McVay is 32-0 when he has a halftime lead. That's not a coincidence. That's coaching. So I blame the defense. I blame it specifically on Todd Bowles. He tried to gamble too much against the Chiefs. He got fried. He tried to single coverage Tyreek Hill. I don't know where he got that idea from. Carlton Davis is good. He's not Jalen Ramsey.
I'll forgive a bit of what I saw against the Chiefs because you're talking about transcendent talent in both of those individuals. Mahomes does that to a lot of people. He's unreal. He's the only quarterback in the league, well, Aaron Rodgers does it too, that drifts in the pocket some 15 yards off his plant foot and then flicks of the wrist 80 yards downfield. There aren't too many people that can do that. And there's certainly not too many people that can run as fast as Tyreek Hill runs and adjusts on a ball on the fly. So I'll forgive a little bit of that. This is all to say this. The bye couldn't come at a better time. I think the Bucs are going to win their remaining games, frankly. And I actually think the Bucs are going to be one of the last teams on earth anybody wants to play going into the playoffs because I do believe they've begun to figure it out. Maybe they've had to hit their head into the wall one too many times for our liking. But my guess is having a chance to sit down, digest over the bye, lick your wounds, look at tape, talk a little bit about what you are and what you are not, and how to proceed moving forward. There are a lot of smart guys in the room, a lot of veterans in the room, and I think there are a lot of good football players on this team. My guess is the Bucs are going to be just fine. Do you share that sentiment or no?
That's certainly my hope. I don't know. And there's a couple of reasons why I say I don't know. Here's one reason, and no one outside of maybe Brady, Jason Light, and Bruce Arians know this. We don't know what kind of power the Bucs promised Brady to lure him to Tampa. It's starting to smell like, the way Arians is talking, it's starting to smell like, Tom, you'll have final say of the offense. Come to Tampa. You can do whatever you want to do. You know, we won't get in your way. We'll even put a clause in your contract. You've got the final say on how the offense is run. They're not going to talk about that publicly, of course. I've never been told that, never heard that. But it would not shock me if that was part of the carrot to get Tom Brady to Tampa Bay. That we can't give you control of the personnel. We'll give you control of the offense. Is that a deal? Is that good enough? Because, you know, in negotiations, you know this as well as anyone, Jeff. In negotiations, you shoot high and hope someone agrees with that. And they don't, well, then you go a little bit lower. It very well could be, and I'm speculating, of course, it very well could be Brady's like, well, I want control of personnel on the offense. Oh, we can't do that, but we'll give you control of the offense. We'll give you final say who plays, who doesn't, what calls are made. That's all up to you. Again, that's pure speculation, but I wonder if that is part of the reason. Like I said, you know, a slob on his couch can see that they need to run the ball more. A drunk in a bar can see it. How come guys making millions of dollars can't see that, who have access to a hell of a lot more data and information and videotape than the drunk in the bar or the slob on the couch? So that's what kind of makes me wonder. I wonder if Arians is absolutely right. If this is all Brady. You know, Brady's calling every shot. I don't know that, but it makes me wonder.
Well, ultimately, that blame would always fall at the feet of the head coach if you think he has any power at all. I understand what you're saying, if that power has been usurped or promised elsewhere. But at the same time, Tom Brady is about one thing. One thing on the field. Off the field, he's about selling all kinds of nonsense TB12 crap. But on the field, he's about winning football games. That's his whole career. He's obsessed with winning. So my guess is he's not going to continue to sabotage an offense that would work better doing some of the things we're suggesting now and that all the statistics point to as well. And I would appreciate it next time, sir, if you did not insult me by noting to our listeners that I'm a slob on the couch and a drunk at a bar. That's just cruel and unusual on your part.
Oh, I'm included in that.
I don't think he'll sabotage the Bucs. I think the ship will sail. We'll be okay. We'll talk next week. Good talking to you, Lee. Be well.
Same here, Jeff. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Yeah, be good. Yeah. Bill Curry Ford, General Manager Sean Sullivan. He's serious when it comes to his love for the Bucs and the Bucs fans. He'll help you personally 7 days a week. Give him a call, email him, visit Sean inside the beautiful Bill Curry Ford showroom. That's 1 mile north of Raymond James Stadium. You can ask for the Scuttlebuck /Joe Bucks fan discount. Sean Sullivan will truly do everything he can to try to help you at Bill Curry Ford. That's the family service you can expect from Bill Curry Ford, and they've been honored by Ford headquarters many years now. Incredible customer care. That's Tampa's first family of Ford for the past 60 years. In fact, get shopping today at BillCurryFord.com. That's BillCurryFord.com.
Just checking my microphone once as I test your audio. Increase the bass response, hoping the speakers blow.
ESPN Radio. Happy Redemption Thursday, kiddos. All right. I forgot to look, Tom. What's going on tonight? Do we got football tonight? Yeah, we got football tonight, don't we?
There's no NFL tonight, but there's a couple of college
games.
Yeah.
Man. I got to get the slate out there. I got to get, I'm talking about the wagering slate, not for the show, which we've already done our Redemption Thursday picks, but rather, my personal potato chip run. By the way, if we were really going to make a run at potato chips, actual potato chips.
Yeah.
Try to make it a habit not to eat potato chips because they are terrible for you. But they are tasty. I mean, who doesn't like a good potato chip?
I'd probably have chips 5 to 10 times a year. I really don't go in on chips that often.
Well, just because there's just nothing redeeming about it other than the taste.
Which is quite redeeming.
It's one of man's greatest inventions, there's no doubt. But what kind of chip guy are you? I never asked you. We've known each other forever, and I don't know what kind of chip man you are.
I'm fond of many chips.
Me too. What's your favorite? If you got one chip on an island.
Original Fritos.
What?
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't be more opposite. I hate Fritos.
You hate Fritos?
I think they suck.
Oh, they're
not
awesome.
even a chip.
Oh, they're good. Not the scoops. I hate the scoops. They got to be like that little swizzle thing.
No. God, no. Hate them. Okay. All right.
Wow.
That's a surprising answer.
We will intersect at many a chip.
Yeah.
I'm sure of this.
Oh, well, yeah. Listen, I am without question a sort of a sea salt and vinegar guy. Vinegar, sea salt guys. I want to recoil when I eat a chip. I want to be like, it got me. Also, I like a good sour cream and onion from either Ruffles or Lay's.
Wow. So even the smooth one from Lay's.
Even the smooth one from Lay's.
I like the Ridgies. Now,
I prefer Ridges, but I can deal with the smooth.
Now, the best Ridgie ones are the Wise brand. It's like this deep green color bag that's hard to find. And you pick it up, and this is what they do now with the chip bags. You pick it up, it feels like it's a quarter full. And they're still going to charge you the full $2.50 for it.
They screw you.
Yes, but and it's also the same kind as Golden Flake, the sour cream and onion. So
Golden Flake.
Yeah, man, those are the go-tos for the SC&Os.
We used to get what were those? The canisters.
Pringles?
Of chips that came in. I'm going to find this thing here in a second.
My dad loved the old shoestring fried chips. You ever had those?
I found it. I pulled it up here. Charles Chips. You remember Charles Chips?
No.
They came in a metal container like that one I'm showing you there. That's it. Charles Chips.
Oh, my God.
Remember
and
that?
They had like the parchment paper inside.
Yes.
I do remember those.
Yeah, you hadn't seen that since you were a kid.
Since I was a kid.
Yeah. Charles Chips, everybody. That's what I'm talking about.
My dad loved those.
I did too as a kid. My mom, you get them delivered to your house. They would, a Charles Chips truck would come to your house.
A Chuck from Charles Chips.
Yeah. I haven't seen the vintage Charles Chips potato chip canister. And
Chuck the truck driver from Charles Chips. How you doing, folks?
It's a tin can. It's a big tin can. And it had man, I used to rip that sucker open. I'd get so excited.
That was about the only good snack out of the tin can because I never liked the 3-style popcorn. That was always garbage. And that's like a throwaway present for somebody who hated the holidays. And the pretzels. The pretzels, too. They were never good out of the tin can.
They were never good out of the tin
But
can
those
either.
chips were delicious. Kettle cooked.
Some people really either love or hate Pringles. I love Pringles. I think
I'm fine with the Pringle.
I'm fine with them.
I'm not buying it, but if it's at the party and they put the spread out,
I'll eat a Pringle.
action.
I'm fine with it. It's not my favorite chip. I don't know my favorite chip.
I really enjoy, the classic Doritos are excellent. You would be a Cool Ranch guy since we're on opposite sides. I'm always on Team Red, not Team Blue.
I like them both.
But I
don't eat Doritos, but I like them both.
The
my
spicy
kids love
nacho?
Doritos. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Now, the Flamin' Hots they're tough. They're the ones that burn your fingers.
A little out of control.
Jamie likes the Flamin' Hot. They're okay.
Well, they make a million different kinds now. I only know this because I've said this on the air before, I pack my kids' lunches every day.
You lunch packer.
I am a lunch packer. And I start the day. That's how I begin every one of my days. This is here's the Cameron morning routine. I wake up before the rest of the family. It's my time. You can't have my time. That's my time. You stay sleeping. I get up. I walk out there. I say hello to the dogs. I go walking down. We have a long hall. I come down the hall. Then I slide open the door that, shuts off the back rooms from the rest of the house. I close that quietly. The dogs hear me, although it's pretty cute and kind of sad. Steve no longer can hear me. He used to just jump off the couch and come running in. He can't hear me anymore.
Buddy, things are...
He's old, man. He's 12 and a half years old.
No.
He's getting up there. Anyhow, he doesn't always hear me, But Maggie does, so she comes running, and then he sees her running. He's like, oh, Dad's up. So then they do the same thing every time. They come running over to me. They wag their tails. They're the sweetest angels in the world. They greet me every morning, no matter what. Then we have our little hug fest. How you doing, guys? Hope you slept well. Thanks for protecting the house. I thank them every morning. And then from there, they know it's time for them to go outside. They're very excited about that. So at 5:30, I open the door. Boom, out they go. Now, I always have to tell Steve, you can't bark out there, man, because I told you about the neighbor and him always standing over there barking.
Have you seen him since?
I've seen him in passing, but not in that awkward situation.
Did you wave?
I did wave. I drove past him the other day and waved. He gave me a wave.
Okay.
He's, he probably has flashbacks, but he's probably like, damn it, man.
Is it a wave or is it a go away?
What are we doing? Yeah. No, he waved. So anyhow, they go out. I go back in the house while they're out doing their business. I start the coffee. Got to start the coffee. It's one of the first things we do. Now, I know I could pre-program it, but for some reason I don't like to do that. I like to make it right then and there. So we do that. I make the coffee. Boom, it started. Then I pound a big thing of water in my Gordo's cup. I got a giant Gordo's cup right next to the sink. I fill that sucker to the top. Bam, slam that sucker, 32 ounces of water. The day has begun. Why did I bring this up? Packing the lunch. Now, boom, we're packing the lunch. I've got the sandwiches going. We're doing all
this. Do you still
this.
like doing that? Because I feel like that would be a peaceful thing to do.
Oh, it's rhythmic, man. It's sort of like, yeah.
Also, the innocence of youth. You get reminded every day of
I'm reminded of how cool it was when my parents packed my lunch, and what my day, how excited I was to go to school, and all that. I make the sandwiches, and I put them in their lunch boxes. But they both want one bag of chips in their lunch, and they like variety. So I have to buy the variety bags of chips at the beginning of every week because they plow through them. And one of them likes the red Doritos, and the other one likes the Cool Ranch Doritos.
Bryce likes the red?
Correct. Clark likes the Cool Ranch.
I knew it.
And they both, but he likes this other thing now that I've started to have to buy, which are these, what's the
Sun chips?
Sun chips. He loves Sun chips.
That's old school.
Well, he likes the Sun chips that have Fiesta in the title. It's like they're spicy as hell. He loves them.
Okay.
So he gets those too. Sometimes I have to pack those separately because they don't come in little bags, which is
get
annoying.
him some spicy nachos.
Yeah. And then there it is. So every morning I've got a relationship with the chips as I place them into their lunch boxes, and I think, I remember when I used to eat chips, and I'm tempted some mornings to just rip open a bag and start eating chips, but that's not a good way to start the day, so I don't do it.
How do you feel about tortilla chips? Are there certain brands?
Well, I love them all. I like them all.
Like them all?
I like tortilla chips.
I don't like the lime ones.
I mean, I don't need
That's
any
way
fancy.
too much on the
We don't
lime
have to go over
and
the top.
salt.
No.
Jesus. Let's just chill out.
Love the salsa. Love the avocado. Love it all.
The deeper the yellow color, the more, high quality it is. That's much closer to restaurant level.
Air Force at Utah State tonight, 9:30. Are you kidding me? That's garbage. Louisiana Tech at North Texas at 6 o'clock at good old Apogee Stadium in Denton, Texas, lest we forget.
Oh.
Good old Denton, buddy.
And toughness.
Yeah. And then on Friday night, you do have a game as well, which is actually interesting. App State hosting 25th ranked Louisiana. You didn't know they were ranked, did you?
I didn't know they were ranked.
That can't be right.
But I know that game's going to be in Boone, North Carolina.
Is that right? Am I looking at this right? I am looking at this right. Okay. Fair enough. And then your big matchups, all your matchups. Well, you do have a Friday night matchup as well. Boise State and UNLV got canceled just now. Okay, sorry. That's canceled. Another canceled game.
So you're telling me that if you had to pick from the great Ito family of Doritos, Tostitos, Cheetos, or Fritos, and one had to go, you'd kick Fritos to the curb?
Was it Doritos, Fritos?
Tostitos and Cheetos. Judge Ito.
Yeah, I think Fritos are gone.
Wow.
Fritos are gone.
See, I tell Cheetos to go to hell.
I like Cheetos. I don't eat them very often, but I do like Cheetos.
I do not like the Cheetos, neither crunchy nor puffed. No, sir.
Oh, the puffy Cheetos. You can mash them up there. You get a bunch of them in your mouth at one time, and you mash them up, and it's just an orange ball of goodness.
No, you could hear the noise in every classroom across America.
Yeah.
Teddy's got the Cheetos again.
Yeah, they're very good, man. Final hour is forthcoming. Hang in. Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today, and a fine Redemption Thursday to you and yours. Woohoo! Man, I like watching that basketball team. They're fun. They're athletic. Long. Always long. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything, but if you do go back, get caught up at your leisure. Bam! That was fast. Sounded like an auctioneer. That was really quick. And I didn't get a word
you to do
wrong.
disclaimers and stuff.
That one is memorized there. Those are not. We're online, as I said. You can email us if you like, jcs@979espnradio.com. On Twitter, it's @JCameronShow. Hello, YouTubers. I doff the cap to you. I hope you're well. So we got what we wanted last night, the return of college basketball. It is Redemption Thursday. I'll mention the games momentarily. But I think that went as planned, right? He played 1 million people. Everybody scored. And we look like we've got some pieces. I mean, it's so funny because we knew we had pieces, but it's just I have to continually pinch myself to know that you lose all this talent all the time. And then the first time you lay your gaze upon thee, you go, very impressive. Not the score, not the outcome. That was a given. They don't have the horses to compete with Florida State. But frankly, the point of me getting excited about that is looking out there and saying, halfway through the season, we're going to be a problem for people. We're going to be a real problem for people.
Yeah, the scout on Scotty Barnes being active and active chatter is great, and it's so true. And it bore out within watching 4 or 5 minutes of the game. You could see that if it's calling out defensive adjustments or telling people where to go on offense, he's already asserted himself as the alpha. Okay, that's awesome.
Well, and then you got what you wanted, MJ Walker rising to the occasion and being the guy and being comfortable with being the guy.
Being efficient while being the guy, too.
Oh, yeah. To score 17 points on, 8 shots is ridiculous. That'll get things done.
Yeah, there's a difference between trying to be the guy and hacking up volume, right? Just a shot after shot after shot, and or, trying to be the guy and picking your spots and moving the ball around. And he and Scotty seem to get along quite well.
They do. You see from Calhoun, he is going to be a player. Yeah, I know he hit the 2 threes. That's nice. We knew he could shoot, but, man, he's athletic. He's going to make people pay. I mean, if they have to close out fast on him because that shot proves itself time and again, he's a weapon getting into the paint. I think with Scotty Barnes, so the thing is, you just look at guys, and oftentimes when you hear about a player coming out of high school, coming out of whatever academy, AAU team, you'll hear, well, this guy's committing to Duke, he may be a one and done. This guy's committing to Indiana, he may be a one and done. So you kind of have it on the top of your brain there. Oh, tonight so-and-so's on, they've got this one and done kid, let's see what he's about. Like when Edwards came out and he didn't choose us and he went to Georgia. The first time Georgia played, I was like, well, I'll tune in. Georgia sucks, but I want to see that kid, see what he's about. I'd seen pictures of him, but I had never really watched him play. And then when you saw him, you went, yeah, I don't care what he does tonight. He's going to the league. Look at that body. It doesn't make any sense to have a body like that at 18 years old. It's an NBA body. The rest will come. That was me last night with Scotty Barnes. And I didn't get to see it until I got back afterwards and watched it then because I was doing the show and couldn't. So
we probably finished at the same time with all the lag and delays I had on my ACC.
It's so annoying, isn't it? It's so annoying. When you watch that on the YouTube station, it's so annoying.
It makes me want to kick Swafford in the testicles.
Yeah, it does. Me too. So anyhow, I did watch it same way and got annoyed, same reason. But the first thing I thought of was, yep, well, there's that. I mean, who looks like that at 18? Who's that thick? Who's that long at 18? Who can jump like that? Who's got – he is a special player. And, look, we told you beforehand that he really wasn't much of a shooter, and he's got years to figure that out. But you saw he's not much of a shooter. But he can get to the rim. He's strong. He bounces people off his shoulder, off his hip when he needs to get to the basket. He creates for others. He's got great vision. It takes him 2 steps to be on the other end of the floor. It's all there. You see it.
Yeah, there's a couple of passes in tight that I really liked. One was to Balsa to finish around the rim. That's the second half. And another one that was to Wyatt Wilkes, where I didn't even think there was an angle there underneath the basket. I mean, they're both within 2 feet. And then Wyatt finishes at the rim. And man, if you've got that type of vision this early, and he even tried some stuff last night and didn't get away with it. There was a pass he tried to fit into the baseline area from the top of the key that was just a terrible idea. But good, learn.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Learn your limits, because guess what? They're going to expand, and your limits, actually, I should say they're going to shrink, your limits, as time goes along. But you can see him figuring it out, and the most important thing to me is it looks like there's synergy between the veteran in MJ Walker and the new guy in the one and done. There's not that thing that we saw maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Old 21, Mr. Buzzer Beater. He didn't like some of the younger guys. This group looks like they get along just fine, and Scotty is completely bought in to the defensive principles and committing himself to be active in rotations, to call out switches, all that stuff. And the fact that he can switch from 1 through 5 for most teams, 1 through 4 on just about anybody in the country, is also a really nice bonus, too.
Yeah, man, I just, it's one game. We can't get crazy, but what you're doing is looking for possible matches, possible rotations, areas where guys are going to really improve, where you see, like, okay, the body type's there, the speed's there, the basketball IQ, the vision, whatever it might be. You start to think about, well, how's that going to mesh? How long will it take him? Oh, God, he's out of shape. Oh, boy, he's in really good shape. Hey, by the way, Raekwon Gray, look at you with this explosion to the basket on a dunk. That fat ass couldn't have done that the last 2 years. How about that? I mean that lovingly.
He could have, but that would have been his 2 minutes for the night.
Yeah, no, he flashed in that moment,
Hands
man.
active in the passing lanes.
Always. He always did that, yeah. And he's lighter, and he can stay out there longer now.
But he can get to those areas even quicker. His instincts plus his size,
By
they
the
go
way,
together.
I want to say again, I say that, Raekwon, endearingly. I mean that lovingly. I mean, I tell my kids, move your ass. Lovingly. That's what I mean. Don't take it personal. It's all good, right? All right.
First thing I saw last night about the guards that gives me hope. And listen, they're going to mix it and match it.
Yeah.
But you could see that 1A is Scotty and MJ. They work well. Mm-hmm. If you have a true scenario with a 1B with Evans and Calhoun, and you can throw waves at opposing teams, and there are going to be times that you want to play them all together on the court at the same time. Mm-hmm. But
when
if you
play
can hit
small,
him,
you can do that, yeah.
But remember, there was a few years back when Trent and CJ Walker,
quick,
they came out and they were your line two, almost like in hockey.
Yeah,
and they were your effort guys for defense, and they also gave you their own unique spark on offense too about getting to the rim. But they were the relief guys. Like, if that can be what Evans and Calhoun is to our starters, then you've got, built in 6 to 10 minutes a game, chunk minutes for those two to just go off, because it's not like Evans isn't a capable scorer. We saw that towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
He can get to the rim. He can take on contact.
He's got moxie.
And then Calhoun can create space for himself whenever he wants.
Off the bounce, and if you leave him alone, he's going to shoot that.
This is nice. The potential is there for so much. You could do so much with this team.
And it's going to be weird because he's going to make mistakes by, really trying to figure out a lineup. Leonard's always somewhat, I don't mean this as a critique, it's just interesting to watch because clearly it's worked out. He's always somewhat slow in figuring out, exactly what he wants to do, and he's just never afraid. He's fearless, and I give him all the credit in the world. He is a fearless coach. I mean, how many times in order to make a point or in order to figure something out in earnest did he leave guys on the floor as the game gets closer? And he does it all the time. He endangers the win. He did it a little bit last night. You see the game gets cut to, I think it was 12 or 11. And
Ballard comes off the bench. Yeah.
He does this stuff all the time. I crack up with it, and I just think, okay. But ordinarily, in the beginning of the year, you get extra games with the exhibitions. You got games that you're going to, kind of stockpile some wins. Some of them are a little too close for comfort sometimes while you're experimenting. And we're all like, come on, Leonard, man, let's get the win here. Put your boys back in there. Let's go. Let's worry about the 5, not the 10 or the 12. But he doesn't do that. He is unwavering in his efforts to find the mixed match group that's going to best succeed late in the year. And I love that about him, but it is funny to watch.
It's also funny to watch that evil backdoor cover. If
oh man,
I mean, the number was around 25. I didn't touch it, but I mean, the way that second half is played, if you're on the North Florida side of the equation, you're sitting pretty the whole second half.
Oh, we'll backdoor you.
Those last 2 minutes were unbelievably productive.
You're like, oh man, yeah, that's a toughie if you're on the wrong end of that. I didn't touch it either.
I think it was Jack hit the late 3. I was like, oh, that's it. They just covered. I'm like hiding in my room.
Yeah,
apologize. Nobody in particular.
Apologize for doing that. Or if you're a Noel and you took it and laid it, you were like, yeah, my man.
They're probably, of the 2,500 people in the stands, maybe about 30 folks looking at each other going,
yes, sir.
You see it.
Count them. Drawers. Money.
Get you something to think
There
of,
you
Jack.
go. Get that. Knock that thing down, baby. Redemption Thursday wagers look like this. By the way, we'll be joined momentarily. Dr. Joseph St. Germain, DSG on DFS on the Jeff Cameron Show. We'll find out what his stack is this weekend and also who he's veering around, who it is he doesn't want to play, all that good stuff. We'll also find out his best bets and futures. So he'll be joining us in just a minute or two. Well, I'm lying. He'll be joining us in about 4 or 5 minutes. First, let me tell you this. Ohio State minus 23.5 against Michigan State. They need style points. They need two things at Ohio State. They need to play games. Got to play some games. Going to need to do that. And then they're going to need to impress because there's at least a team or two that could make a valid argument to supplant Ohio State because of how few games and impressive wins they actually have. Mm-hmm. So I'm figuring they're going to try to run it up and put a number up on Michigan State, who's not real good. So I will give the 23.5 there. That's my logic. I think they'll try to win by 40. They'll try to win by as many as they possibly can. I'll take Rutgers plus 11. The Fighting Schianos have been exactly that. They fight. They should have beat Michigan, triple overtime, all that, signature win for Harbaugh. But Rutgers plus 11 against Penn State. They'll keep it close. They'll keep it close. I'll take the 11 points there. Oklahoma State minus 1.5 against TCU. I mentioned a couple weeks back that Oklahoma, who's my next pick, is really rolling after a shaky start to the season with Rattler at quarterback. He's figured it out. He's at ease and comfortable now. And the defense has begun to show up. They're just blowing people out. You saw what they did to Oklahoma State, aforementioned Oklahoma State. Give me OU, lay the 22 to Baylor. Baylor can't throw the ball. They're having a real hard time. First-year head coach, same thing, missed spring practice. Give me Oklahoma to beat that ass. I'll do something that's really odd, and you're going to be in shock by this. Kansas plus 27.5 against Texas Tech. I've made a living this year. Kansas has been an ATM. I've made a living this year pulling up and taking any team and laying the points against Kansas. I got heartbroken on a long kick return one game against West Virginia where they screwed me, the Hillbillies. But I have always bet against Kansas. And there's something about this game that suggests Kansas is going to hang in there and keep this within 27.5. It's a gut feeling. I wouldn't play it if I were you, but I'm going to do it.
Over, under, and that surprises me every time you've read it so far today in the show because of the Kansas rule this season.
But I have a rule, yeah.
Over, under 4.5 years before a minor league baseball team calls themselves the Hillbillies. It's
in
a
West
perfect
Virginia,
name.
wouldn't it be? Yeah, it'd be good. It would be
the
good.
Morgantown Hillbillies.
That would be good. We love to eat possum. That'd be great. In a little shirt. Yeah, that'd be great.
It's possum night. Yeah.
Possum night at the ballpark, along with $1 beer to wash it down. Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher got it going right now. Kellen Mond's played quarterback there for 9 seasons. And in this, his 9th season, he's finally figured it out a little bit. Bad for the first 8. The 9th season, he's got it figured out a little
I feel like the $1 beers would be Ice House and Ice House only.
Ooh, you just hurt my soul and my head thinking about Ice House. Worst hangover I ever had was Ice House.
Of any kind of beverage, it was Ice House.
Ice House. I would burn that thing to the ground if I were ever out there where they make Ice House. I made it. I went to a party. It was some ass bought a keg of Ice House, which what are you doing?
Been there, done
Sirs. So it was I'm angry thinking about it. I'm just angry thinking about it. Anyhow, Texas A&M minus 6.5 against Auburn. Somebody might say, well, you didn't have to drink it, Jeff. You don't understand. Boston College plus 4 against Virginia. BC's fought hard this year. They'll continue to fight hard here. I'll take Florida minus 17.5 to try to run it up on Shigadig-Doo at Tennessee. They're a dumpster fire yet again this year. Coaches are going to get fired. He may get fired. Jeremy Pruitt could go back to trying to lure the ladies in the black dresses at the hotel bar again. Soon he'll have plenty of time on his hands to make that happen. Washington minus 11.5 against Stanford. I don't think Stanford's any good at all. And then finally, it's a war this weekend, Tom. You know it, Miami and Duke.
Oh, buddy.
One of the great rivalries of the game.
This is top 3 rivalry in the ACC. In its history. In its history.
Yeah, yep. Unfortunately, Duke is not equipped, much the way that Florida State is not equipped currently on the football field to do much about this year's version of the rivalry. Sadly, hate to turn into rivalry games and have them be so one-sided, but that's what we're going to get this weekend. I'll take Miami, lay the 15. The dead fish doesn't want to be there. He admitted it. So that's not a good message to send to your team. Like, we don't want to play. They got to play. Miami will win big. I'll lay the 15. There are your games. I think you like them all, don't you? Maybe not the Kansas game.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That may be a tall boy.
Well, yeah, I took a flyer on a gut. I just wanted to see what that was. I'm taking a flyer on a gut. It's kind of rare.
That sounds like some sort of move in either NASCAR or boating.
He took a flyer on the gut.
That's right.
What a move. We haven't seen the flyer on the gut in some time.
Boys, we're running out of fuel. We got to take a flyer on the gut.
That's exactly right. In the earpiece, let's take you inside number 22. Guys, this is it. Take a flyer on the gut right here. Flyer on the gut. It's our only chance. Air it out.
We do wrap up and thud you.
Well, in addition to loving that song, I also love what it represents on Redemption Thursdays. An opportunity to talk to my man, Dr. Joseph St. Germain, because it's DSG on DFS on the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Downs and St. Germain Research, a full-service market research firm located right here in good old Tallahassee, Florida. They have been since 1981. Downs and St. Germain Research, conducting surveys and focus groups for local, state, and national organizations. Hey, we say this every week, but it's true. Look, researching to win your fantasy weekend is a lot of fun. But, hey, researching to strengthen your organization, that's a winning strategy. Online at dsg-research.com. Let's bring him in, Dr. Joseph St. Germain. Joey, how are you, brother?
I'm great. It's some of my favorite time of the year. We got the fantasy playoffs coming up for football. NCAA hoops is back. It's a great time.
Yeah, welcome back, college basketball, right? How good was that? Watching the Knowles last night, just looking around the country. I've caught a little bit of the Big Ten, watched Texas edge North Carolina as well, which was great. This is fun. I'm all in on college basketball. I know whenever you get the time, whenever that is, I know you're a busy man, you'll start breaking down some numbers, perhaps in college basketball, right?
Yeah, I hope so. I have a database from 2011 to 2018 of every college basketball game played and some analytics, so I can try to dive back into that so we can start chatting on that here possibly.
You know what I like? I like that my man just throws it down. I ask him if he's interested in maybe talking some college basketball in the future. Well, Jeff, I got a database that goes back, 8 years worth of college basketball games, and I'll have to analyze that and get back to you. Yeah, sure. That's good stuff. All right. Guys, you're going to avoid in your cash lineups. Fire away.
Yeah, this is something we haven't really discussed on this segment, but one of the ways to win in cash is actually to look at the guys who have high salaries and you just avoid them in the right weeks. So two guys I'm avoiding this week are Kamara and DeAndre Hopkins. If you have them in fantasy, you're starting them. I'm probably going to put them in tournaments. But Kamara, since Taysom Hill came in, he's only got 3 targets. It totally changes his floor and his ceiling because he with check down Breeze, he was getting 8-9 targets a game. It totally changes him. So I think he's overpriced. And then the other thing is Hopkins. It's a little bit of a worry with his matchup. He's up against Jalen Ramsey. They're in different uniforms, but these two have played each other a bunch of times when they were with Houston and the Jags. Now that's the same matchup with different colors. And I'm worried about Kyler Murray's shoulder. There's something wrong there, which may taint Hopkins' production.
All right, let's look at, by the way, you're absolutely right. It's amazing to see how the Saints offense changes with Drew Brees out, and in particular for Kamara, who has basically gone to from the most amount of touches that a player at his position can get because of all the passes he receives, but to kind of persona non grata. You can't even find him in that offense, at least as a target over these last 2 games. Stack of the week, what is it?
Yeah. One of the things that I like with a stack is to focus on an uncertain situation because people tend to avoid it when it's uncertain. So that's why I'm actually going to the Texans. Will Fuller suspended. He was a huge part of that passing offense, but I think they're still going to be able to move the ball. So I see Watson, Brandon Cooks, and Akins. He made a point about the tight end Akins that he missed him twice on Thanksgiving Day. For touchdowns. He was just throwing. I mean, he was giving out a lot of touchdowns, but Akins didn't get his share. So I'll go with that stack, and I'll probably run it back with either Hines or Pittman. This is going to be a fast-paced game. Houston's throwing 62% of the time in situationally neutral situations. It's indoors, which always matters a little bit in terms of high scoring, but it matters even more when it's December and a lot of the rest of the NFL is playing in the cold. And it's the 3rd highest total on the main slate. So we expect points, but it's not the most points, so it might come in a little bit under-owned.
I like it. Nicely done. Good suggestion there. Let's look at, and I looked, here it is, December the 3rd, and my man is throwing down with futures for the Super Bowl. Tell us, from an odds standpoint, obviously you're looking at ways to bring in the cash or chips, if you will. What your Super Bowl future looks like right now. You see a team that you want to jump on, maybe.
Yeah, there's one. I mean, if I was just picking who I think is going to win the Super Bowl, me and most of the country is going to pick Kansas City.
Yeah.
But I can't get 35-1. I can get the Baltimore Ravens at 35-1. We saw them yesterday on a very classic Wednesday afternoon football game, but they're very banged up. They've dealt with COVID, but right now they're 6-5. Their upcoming schedule is Dallas, Cleveland, Jacksonville, the Giants, and Cincinnati. There's a very good chance they end up on a 5-game winning streak going in the playoffs. Probably at worst, you're looking at 10-6. You got that team who was one of the best teams in the NFL last year, finally getting healthy, and I can get them at 35-1. I can put out 10 potato chips to win 350 potato chips. I'm in. I don't think there's a great chance with Kansas City, but I think it's more than 3% of the time that they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, a little pizza money on it. A little pizza money, perhaps. All right, I like it. So you're, hey, listen, I've become a big fan of the teaser. I know that a lot of people have gone down this road. They fall in love with the teaser. They think, oh, I've got it pegged. I understand how to win these teasers. I'm winning a bunch of them. And then right when you think you can trust the teaser, she runs off on you. I understand that. I know how this works. But I'm loving teasers, and you got one this week. Let's go.
Yeah, again, when you're looking at the pieces, you want one that will get you through 3 and 7 points. So the two that I'm looking at the most, I can take the Raiders down to minus 1.5 versus the Jets. I said a couple weeks ago, if I can get the Jets less than -3, I'm going to keep doing it. It worked 2 weeks ago. It worked last week. I'm going back again. If the Raiders lose, shame on them. You should get a good effort from the Raiders after they got boat raced by Atlanta last week. And speaking of Atlanta, I'm going to bump up Atlanta to plus 8.5 against the Saints. They got smoked by the Saints a couple weeks ago, but a lot of the metrics, DVOA, et cetera, they've actually been Atlanta's been a really good team since Dan Quinn left, who's a terrible coach. They've been 4-2, but they're just winning games. And then secondly, when they played the Saints a couple weeks ago, that defense for the Saints dominated. They did great, but also Julio went out early, or he was in and out because of a hamstring. And you don't know how much that changed their game plan. At least this week, they'll know if Julio's playing or not. So I'm going to take Atlanta plus 8.5 against the Saints in that piece.
I believe it was 8 sacks for the Saints against the Falcons in that game. Matt Ryan didn't have any time. I would imagine some adjustments have been made. My friend, it is always a pleasure. Thanks for the insight, and we appreciate you.
Hey, take care.
That's Joey St. Germain, and we talk to you about it every week. That's a fun segment to do. You learn a lot. I've learned a lot this year from Dr. Joseph St. Germain, and that's all brought to you by our friends at Downs and St. Germain Research. They're really incredible at what they do. They're a full-service market research firm. They're right here in Tallahassee, but they work with people, whether it's focus groups or surveys, and they do it local, they do it statewide, they do it nationally. Really, really well thought of and excellent at what they do. If you want to learn more about that, if you're a business owner listening to this and you want to look into a winning strategy, go to dsg-research.com to learn more. That's dsg-research.com. Let's come back and react to that. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Crows. As you can imagine, those two brothers beat the hell out of each other. A lot. Over the course of making several outstanding records, they did not see eye to eye. I love musician fights. They make me laugh. Especially when both have valid points because they never back down. And they can't concede that the other was right ever. Especially if the song works out being a smash hit or something and they went the other way. The brother will still say, well, it was better the way I would have done it. It would have been even bigger. Oh, man, we sold 40 million records. I mean, you gotta side with me here. No, it was a mistake. You affected the integrity of the song. Those kinds of arguments are good. Hey, here's an aside. This is also good, and you guys should know this. You hear me from time to time. You've probably heard my voice on the bath fitter commercials. They're doing something big right now for you. It started at the end of November there. 0% for 48 months when you call Bath Fitter and get a new bath. And by the way, I mean, think about how small of a payment you could get on something that is going to greatly improve the value of your home. At 0%, forget about it. You got to do it. It's 0%, Tom. It's like when we got the Best Buy card. You had to do it. You had no choice. It's free money. 0% for my friends at Bath Fitter. And you've been thinking about switching it up in the bathroom. You've been thinking, man, I don't like this bathtub. I got to do better. Bath Fitter consultants offer free estimates. They practice social distancing, so they're not going to be all up in your space or anything like that. They can do a consultation just by looking at a picture that you send them. That's how easy it is. And then you get a new bath, monthly payments, 0% interest. Forget about it. Got to do it. Give them a call today, 778-9213. If you want to learn more about it, go to bathfitter.com. Bathfitter.com.
So I was looking up as you were letting the folks know about Bath Fitter, a place that I'm really thinking about calling because the new digs could use at least
I could use a new bath.
The master bath is fine. We're the ones who see it.
Yeah.
But there is one guest bath that could use a bit of a facelift.
A little shaky,
yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Well, it's
those older houses.
Lived in. It's well lived in, But we got to make it, livable for the next people.
You got to make it do, man. You got to make it do.
So not musicians fighting, but musicians complimenting each other. Two of the best in history are McCartney and John Lennon.
Of course.
But we can work it out. I heard the story about this song the other day. And if you...
I don't know the story.
Okay. So Paul wrote it.
Yeah.
But then John wanted a line in there that's very much John, and the person was remarking on how obviously Paul is much more upbeat.
Yeah.
And you could probably guess, if you looked at the lyrics, what John's line is, which is life is very short and there's no time for fussing and fighting, my friend. He wants you to know that we're all going to die, so let's put this thing to bed.
Get that in there. Yeah. Yeah.
And then also, what George contributed to the song was for the bridge, they go to 3/4 time, and it wasn't originally there. It was much more sing-songy, but he sped it up, which kind of drives the song from one place to the next. So it's written by primarily one of the guys. The other guy chimes in with his darkness, where some other songs that they're dark and
it's also very fitting. I love that line, by the way, in the song and the way it's sung.
Exactly. But that's what they're the yin and the yang for each other. And then George is like, hey, hang on a minute. Let's just shorten this time now. And they do, and the whole thing works. And Ringo just keeps time.
You can do better than most, by the way. You can go back through the entire Beatles catalog and notice the moments in which a melody or a lick help bring the song together or kick off the song, if you will. And that's all George. That's what George brought to the table. Very melodic. George. They could turn it. There's a cool scene. Tom, I'm glad you brought this up. There's a documentary. I think it's on Netflix. I might have seen it on demand on HBO. I can't remember. On John Lennon. Something to do with Sky. Above Us Only Sky, I think is the name of it. Okay.
Yeah.
When you watch that, you want to talk about cool context cues, right? Where you see where relationships are symbiotic, truly symbiotic, and you see where the unspoken is understood between two people. It's beautiful. He's playing, Lennon's playing for a solo record he's making. He's playing on the piano, and he's trying to work through this song. I can't remember what it was. And he stops at one point, and George is there at the house hanging out with him in the home studio, and they remain fast friends. So he's sitting there, and John's playing, and John looks over at George. George understands in that moment that John's saying, I need you. I need something from you here. What do we do here? What do we do here? And he's just playing, and it's a glance. And the camera catches it from the back of the room. It choked me up. He's sitting there playing, and he glances over, and George grabs his guitar and then just lays in, and then John nods and then just keeps going. It's like, oh, man, now that's beautiful. That's unreal. Just a glance. Just one look. I was like, okay, I'm going to get choked up here. That was incredible. And it's not even, they don't draw attention to it. You just have to see it.
That's just the working relationship.
Yeah. It's cool. Yeah. And I saw it. I was like, ooh, okay, buddy. That's well done right there. Mm-hmm. Because you know what it did? It made me not only realize, obviously, the art and the genius of the two and all that other stuff, it made me sad knowing that it wouldn't be that long before George lost his friend.
Right.
You know, that's the thing. Before that was severed needlessly, you know, and there it is.
That's like Ringo talking about George in the Harrison documentary. Last time we saw him, and George is on his deathbed, and he's wondering if Ringo needs help with a project that Ringo's working on. Like, do you need me there? Do you need me to help you? And Ringo's like, that guy's about to die.
Yeah.
And that's who he was. And he's flawed, and he did some crappy stuff in his life.
Yeah. All the Beatles did.
But that was his heart was, do you need me?
Yeah.
I can help.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, John did a lot of terrible things, too, in his life.
You're going to die, George.
Yeah.
I don't need you.
Yeah, no, I need you to concentrate. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, working to the end, trying to help to the end. Yeah, no, it's good stuff. That documentary is really good. There's a slew of them that you can watch on the Beatles, of course, and many of them have been well done.
I always gravitate back towards the Beatles channel when SiriusXM is striking out, you know, and the talk formats like PGA Tour Radio, which is a fantastic channel.
Yes, it is.
When they're all on break, like it always gravitates back. That's my baseline safe harbor channel. Because I learned something. There's always like some interesting celebrity or music history buff.
There's funny anecdotes oftentimes in that history. Yeah,
you got people who are like extreme fanboys, like the guy who does the morning show. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but like there's always a nugget, and like you don't really hear the same thing often. A lot of the channels you hear the same thing over and over again.
Well, I just listened to a Mike Campbell interview, guitarist Tom Petty, in which I learned an awful lot, too, about his relationship with Petty, but how often – so he was asked who brought the songs to the table, how did your relationship work, what was it? And he said, well, Tom wrote all the songs. And he's like, Tom. Campbell was unabashedly praising Tom. He's like, look, I'm not – a lot of people think he's one of the best guitarists of all time, by the way. And he goes, well, I appreciate that, but, Tom brought all the songs to the table. I mean, he'd come in and he had – the basic melody for what we were going to do, and he had already written a lot of the lyrics to that, and he would just say, what do you think? And then I knew I needed to add something, and I have a style, and I knew how it meshed with Tom. He played rhythm, so I knew how we could do that. And he goes, it's just proof that there's magic sometimes between two people. And he's like, we met in the middle of nowhere, Florida, just outside of Gainesville, when we were kids. And the first time I ever played with him, I laid down a Chuck Berry riff, and he immediately went, yes, you get it. And then we started to play together, and, Mudcrutch and all that stuff. He said, look, bottom line was from the first time we played together, he got me and I got him, and we knew as a rhythm section what we wanted to sound like and who we wanted to imitate. Everybody, there's nothing original under the sun in music, so the influences meshed really well. One was more of a blues guy, one was more of a pop guy, and they were able to kind of one was a country guy. They were kind of able to mesh that. They knew they wanted part Allman Brothers, part pop rock, all those influences to come together. And he said just instantly when Tom would walk in the room, he'd go, I got something, and he'd start to play it. He's like, man, who can account for that genius, for having those songs in your noggin and bringing almost a finished product to the table?
But then to bring from life experiences, too, and giving of yourself. That's the hard thing. Is like sometimes in live performances, you see the songs that really mean something to the artist.
Oh, yeah.
And they have the moment, where they have to collect themselves or whatever. Like, I mean, even if it's just internal, like I wrote this song, this is very personal to me. It could be even somebody performing the guitar. You could see they're ready to weep. Mm-hmm. And you're like, man, it's something I never got as a young kid. And I'll tie it to sports too. I remember that after a big playoff victory, I won't get into the details about the hockey team, but it's Lightning. A video of one of the stars just weeping in his locker after the game, and I'm like, "You won. What are you?
Why are you crying?" Yeah,
it's not until I get older in life that I realize all the sacrifice that goes into it, all the mental games you had to play with yourself to get there. The chip on the shoulder of you're never going to make it. This particular guy was a
Hours
tiny
of
player.
dedication.
Right, and that's the same thing for somebody who is on a stage and a musician. If they're playing something and it hits them, it's because they're telling you about what's inside.
Yeah, that interview, by the way, it starts tough because the first thing that happens is the interviewer says, "I'm sorry about your loss," talking about Tom, and he goes, and he tries to talk and he can't, and then he goes, "You caught me off guard there, but I appreciate that." And you could tell he's still really hurting. That was his guy. They were boys, but it's cool because you could tell it wasn't false. That was all. Let me tell you about Tom Petty. Let me tell you about my friend. This is what he did.
Right.
It was really cool to hear, and he's one of the most accomplished guitarists of all time.
Well, and that's where, just quickly back to the Beatles, the idea, like Paul goes through life sing-songy, and John goes through life dreading things, and they're raised differently, and their backgrounds are very different and harsh. And
it really comes out when you get into Lennon's solo work. It's all laid bare there.
But in general, they could get past that. Like, you could see where if Lennon is around McCartney all day, he's like, you don't get it. Like, life is suffering, my man. It's not this pop nonsense.
Yeah.
And McCartney's like, would you lighten up every once in a while?
Yeah, have some fun while you're here. You only go around once. Let's get it together.
Somehow they were able to not resent each other through all that time, which is crazy.
Yeah, and they had moments where they did.
But, like the long-lasting nature of what they were, like they got it. They got through it. They got past their stuff.
What's sad is that famously, right before John is assassinated, right there by the Dakota, McCartney or John, I think, had done an interview where maybe Paul McCartney's being interviewed and John Lennon calls in during the interview out of nowhere because he heard it in New York City, and they kind of had this jovial moment where Paul's genuinely excited to hear John has called in, and a lot of people speculated that was going to be the flame that was ignited there between them again, and they were going to get back together and do something. Maybe just the two of them.
Even if it was one song.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there had been a distancing for some time, which they probably both needed. I mean, at that point, they're marrying, they're having kids.
Sure.
Doing,
It was more professional rather than how do you see the world.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. Like, if I'm around somebody who's negative all the time, I got to get away. And yet, he understood. He understood his friend.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah, and I also think that it's probably really good for John that Paul would come in and be like, it's all right, mate. Because
we can work it out. It's like, no, man. Why are you singing about that like that? What's wrong with you? Life is short.
Yeah,
and
there's no time.
There's no next life.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Hey, hang on, man.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm enjoying my bubble gum.
I think they were enjoying more than bubblegum together.
Oh, sure.
That's for sure.
Proverbially speaking.
That was something they did agree upon, no matter their outlook on life. Let's engage in all of this. I've always been shocked that one of them didn't say, yeah, the India stuff, man, I'm not going with you there. That guy's nuts. What are you talking about? He's taking advantage of you. Stop being a dumbass. Like, somebody, Ringo, step up there. Somebody say something. What are we doing?
Ringo's along for the ride, man.
Yeah, but Ringo's talented. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, you talk to drummers, they'll tell you Ringo's talented.
Who was it? Peter Best? Was that
Pete Best? Who got told to have a good day.
Yeah, for Ringo. Yeah.
Well, that hurt your feelings in a big
would.
way. Many years later, Pete Best has commented on it.
Could have been John, Paul, George, and Pete.
Can you imagine the moment that it is unassailably accurate to say that the Beatles are the biggest band in the world and have sold more records than any musician of all time, and you're Pete Best in an apartment staring out the window?
And in the echoes,
I mean, that's got to just be like, that's a toughie. That's, my goodness gracious. It's like the people who was it? The guy that sold off his Apple share for $8 or whatever. I mean, he's like, this isn't going anywhere.
Oh, it went places.
Oh, my man. Well, I'm paraphrasing now, but I remember that individual being interviewed or
he said it was cool. You read the story on the air.
Did I read it on the air? Yeah, he said,
everything's cool, man. I'm happy with how it turned out.
No. You missed out on $2 billion. Billion.
Yeah. You're Walter White. Gray matter. It's half mine.
Oh. I understood his anger all through that series. But that's nonsense what they did to him. As that was building to a crescendo, I was like, you need to confront them. That's nonsense. They stole your idea, or at least half of it. That's just not right.
Yeah, that was tough. I never understood. So did she run out on him? Is that why he left her?
I think there's something there, yeah.
They never explained
They never fully explained it. He was in love with her.
Clearly, and she loved him. But
that was his boy. They were friends.
But she messed up, I guess? I don't know.
I don't know who messed up, but I know she ran off with that guy who stole the idea. So,
Right.
it's Jim Croce's Operator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what that is, which is a brutal song.
There was something. Oh, that's right. So in the beginning, like, you want to believe that they're benevolent people, but they're offering him a job as a favor to Skyler.
That is correct. And
that was the twist.
And it's for a pittance. It's like nothing compared to what he's owed, and he knows it. And they act like it didn't happen. Like at that party, they're like, hey.
Yeah.
Man, come on now. You know.
Look at this gift.
That's awful.
Oh, it just means the world to me.
I think we went through pop culture here in this final segment, which is brought to you by our friends at Wooden Glass. I hope they're thrilled with our efforts today. The folks at Wooden Glass, there they are.
The presentation was as clear as a brand new pane of window.
Family owned and operated new window. Wooden Glass is a family owned and operated business serving Tallahassee and the Big Bend area. They have been since 1945. You can trust them. That's a long damn time.
Yeah, they supported us for a while now.
They
too.
have. That's Tallahassee's first family in glass replacement, highly respected for their quality of installation, both residential and commercial. Wooden Glass, 222-5781. That's 222-5781. All right. There you go. That's a good way to do it. Take a little right turn. Baseball season, obviously, we do probables in this final segment, but there's nothing that says we can't look at another sport, basketball, the NFL.
Sure, the slate.
Yeah, and just run down slate, matchups, things like that, moving forward. Maybe we'll start doing that.
Through the Looking Glass, brought to you by Wooden.
Oh, look at you. That's the art, folks. There it is, just like that. Don't try that at the house. Good work, Tom. Good work, Matthew. Be well, everybody. Have a great night. Talk to you tomorrow on Live Nations Friday.